Houston, we have a problem.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Help me help you.
You are a toy!
My team is dead!
There's no crying in baseball!
Relax. This pod is making you aggressive.
Wilson!
You complete me.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of We Bought a Mic, podcast about movies, television, music, and the greatest generation.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Wow. I thought you were going to say the Great War, and I was going to say, nope, not quite.
Well, I almost went with war. War never changes. But I think we've used that one recently.
Probably.
When discussing Fallout. I feel like that one's been used. Welcome. My name's Ernest.
My name's Hunter. Can't wait to talk Unbroken with you guys.
I got one. I'm Private Drew.
Oh, God. Saving Private Drew.
Is that what you're going with?
Nice.
I really
chain.
tried to.
Drew's got a gold chain on today.
God, that's something just for the YouTube audience.
God damn. Looking sharp.
I'm a chain guy now. So what happened is I bought this like a year ago, wore it every day for like a month. No one noticed. I think it was under my clothes. I was scared. It broke because the only way to take this off is to like loosen it and then go over your head. My head is really big, way too big. Broke the chain. Found it the other day, fixed it.
Okay.
Wore it to our fantasy getaway weekend at the beach house where guest that Dane fucking brought along. That was her introduction to me. She said I look like I listen to Drake.
Yeah. She called you a pedophile.
Yeah.
Actually.
Basically.
She didn't even say Drake's name wasn't said. She just said you look like a pedophile. And you're like, I like Drake's earlier work.
It's living in my head rent free, but I can't stop now. I'm scared if I take it off again, it's going to break.
And joining us today, welcome back to the show, Dane. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. I watched some people die last night. That was fun.
You are wearing a Midwest Princess hat, which is great to know for the audience that you are an ally. I'm fascinated for this podcast because you did message me at like 11:30 last night, and you're like, I think I have some hot takes about Saving Private Ryan. So I'm interested to hear what those are when we get into it.
I feel like they're going to be like Aliens-esque for me.
Yeah, you did have some tough things to say about James Cameron's masterpiece.
Yeah, I don't like Aliens very much. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I don't like it.
And might that be any indication as to how you might feel about Saving Private Ryan?
You know, there's parts of it that I think are good. And then, yeah.
Dane thinks that Spielberg's a hack.
Wow.
He said this before.
Mike,
he said Spielberg, untalented.
Is this going to be a We Fought a Mic episode?
It might be for
Hunter and
you
Dane.
and Dane. What? Don't look at me. Why am I immediately being pointed to?
You seemed exasperated a little bit.
With what? And when did I come across as exasperated? It's just at anything in my life.
The tone in his voice changed so much. I'm not exasperated.
Maybe Hunter likes to keep the people guessing as to what his takes are on movies.
I'm actually gonna come out here and be like, "This is the best Spielberg, #1 Spielberg right here."
I think it's underrated.
I do too. That's what I said last night. My memory of it, like most people, probably is the beginning. I was pleasantly surprised that I really, really loved the rest of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's back up a second. We can't just dive in immediately. We got to set the table a little bit. All right. So this is a series on the films of Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks. It's called Tom v. Tom, A Tale of Two Toms, Cruisemas with the Hanks. It is a big team up of America's dads. We've got Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks partnering.
I thought you were going to say Giovannni Ribisi.
And Vin Diesel.
He's my dad. Giovannni Ribisi is.
That's tough. Generational mommy issues. Just going straight to you from him.
Hey, listen, they got to pass down somehow, right?
Steven Spielberg is coming off of winning 2 Oscars, as is Tom Hanks. very recently in the mid 90s, they've got their actually no.
This is Spielberg's second Oscar.
Yes,
this one.
Thank you. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Because
he won for Schindler's List.
Yeah, and for like decades prior to that, the Academy always shunned Spielberg and were just like, he's this box office director. And a lot of ways, like especially with E.T., despite that movie being one, a masterpiece, and two, the biggest movie of 1982, like he should have won that year, but the Academy just wanted to snub their nose at it and give it to something like Gandhi, because they're like, Spielberg isn't a real director, he doesn't make real art. And so he had to get out of the shell by making Schindler's List, which is a masterpiece. I think that Schindler's List is like a top 5 at least Spielberg movie, if not like a top 3 or 4. Like truly a perfect movie. It was in my top Oscar winners ever whenever we did that.
I meant to rewatch it before this episode and I didn't get a chance to. I think it's very relevant when discussing this movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there's a difference between a Holocaust movie and a World War II movie. It's very clear that like while making Schindler's List, you can always kind of see that like in the back of his mind, Spielberg was like, I want to also do the gritty, the war stuff about like how this not only affects those like behind the scenes, and in Schindler's List, it's like more coming from a position of power, a German man. But I wanted to like get down the nitty gritty with the troops. So then years go by, Saving Private Ryan, which is one of the first big Amblin movies after Amblin had only been around for a few years. It's
kind of the first big Amblin movie, because I think the only other major one before, or do you mean Amblin or DreamWorks? Because DreamWorks is the studio.
DreamWorks, excuse me.
That Steven starts at this time after the Oscar. Yeah. Which I think the official first movie of DreamWorks is Amistad, or at least the ones that he directed, because there's a bunch of ones that he produced. And then this is the second one. Nobody talks about Amistad. Amistad is not like a known quantity when you're discussing Spielberg. But so this is like the first big one. This movie is a massive deal. In terms of like the arrival of it. I feel like now in 2024, there is a case to be made for it being underrated. But in the moment, it was huge. Like you said, Oscar winner, biggest movie of the year, highest grossing movie of 1998. And
which I was going to ask, because I do actually agree with you guys. I'm not going to come across here as like a hard nose and everything. Saving Private Ryan's a great movie. I'll get in front of it. I'll beat the allegations now. But I do think that this is one of those examples, and I think La La Land is having a little bit of this now, where it's become underrated because it didn't win Best Picture. Yeah, it's almost of a thing of like looking back at, this is no slight to Moonlight, which is a very deserving Best Picture winner, but the fact that Saving Private Ryan lost to does anybody know what movie it lost to here?
Shakespeare in Love.
Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, that's right. It was the first big Harvey Weinstein movie where Harvey put out all of these, like took out like all these big ads and different articles and magazines about like basically saying like Saving Private Ryan is really boring after the first 20 minutes, and like launched this whole smear campaign against Saving Private Ryan. And meanwhile,
that's what Dane has bought into.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing.
Well, and Dane, here's the thing.
Dane's been watching a lot of questionable YouTube content the last couple of years,
and they know that
they've been reevaluating the Weinstein case.
Dane's been clicking all the ads on Tim Pool videos.
Yeah. Really got him.
They have a missile named after Dane in Russia.
Dane, defend yourself.
Yeah, I do watch a lot of questionable. Okay. So the movie beginning fucking rocks. That's awesome. I don't like the 90s-isms of it. I don't know. I think it's entirely too optimistic about America and war. And I like the parts where it is a gritty war movie, and not the parts where it's like, let's like have triumphant music playing as these guys go off to die.
That's a totally fair criticism of the movie. And I think that there is a lot of that you can't really dispute too much. Like it's kind of an undeniable aspect of the movie for sure. And honestly, I was kind of worried going into this rewatch because of the whole like military propaganda aspect of this movie. And I was kind of worried that it wasn't going to hold up at all. Happy to say that's not the case because Steven fucking Spielberg directed this movie. It's incredibly well made, but you're right. Like there are these things about it that are kind of just baked into it.
Mm-hmm. It's just, we love America. It just feels like propaganda in 2024. I
think that's true. I do think like you brought the music and I put down my notes that I think John Williams is like, I don't want to say he's a bad fit for anything because he's like the greatest movie composer ever. But it's a weird choice for a score and a lot of the stuff. Like the sound mixing, the sound design is all really great on a technical level. But like, especially the writer of this, Robert Rodat, he has done nothing else really of note, just more military movies. And like a lot of the script stuff comes across where in these quiet moments, wherever you're in the action and Spielberg's doing his fucking thing with a close-up shaky cam, it is spot on. It's perfect. It is in those quiet moments, Dane, where that you're talking about, where it's just like a little bit, it does feel a little bit hollow from scene to scene sometimes.
Maybe the best thing we could do in this war is Saving Private Ryan. While the trumpets play in the background, like
they gave it to Sizemore.
They had to give it to Tom Sizemore.
Yeah, but you know why? You know why I like it is because then it cuts to Tom Hanks and he goes, "Oh boy." He literally is like he says like, "Oh brother," I'm pretty sure. He's like, "Come on, dog."
Let's back up a second, Dane. So tell us a little bit about why you picked this movie because you had wide open selection here. Why did you pick Saving Private Ryan? What's your overall take on Hanks? Just aside from like your thoughts on the movie itself, just kind of the bigger picture of the series that we're doing here. What are your overall takes?
So, when you put these lists out, I tend to try and grab something that I haven't like sat down and seen all the way through. And Tom Hanks, he's Tom Hanks. I've seen so many freaking Tom Hanks movies in my life. I grew up with Toy Story. I've seen what was that robot one? I don't even remember the name, the Apple TV Plus one.
Oh my
I tried
God.
watching that.
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about not Chappie, but the one that's made by the Chappie director?
Yeah.
It's called Not Chappie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called The Other Chappie.
Like, Finch.
That's the range.
Finch. Come on. Finch. We don't all remember Finch.
Yeah.
Woo.
I honestly do not remember most of it, but that's like the range, right? Tom Hanks has had an incredible run of movies, and then he's gotten too big to fail, and just kind of makes movies, right? Yeah. And Saving Private Ryan is not one that I had ever seen before, so I guess I feel like there was a general consensus of people liking the movie a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there definitely was, especially like across the board, like across all demos. I think when we say underrated, I think we're probably talking about like the Letterboxd crowd. Like no one's going to be like ranking it super highly. No one's going to have it number, like top 3 in their Spielberg rankings.
I think that's the thing, is that like if this was just like some other fucking guy. If this was the guy if this was Shawn Mendes who made, or Sam Mendes, excuse me. If this was Shawn Mendes, great job, Sean. Yeah. You should pick up filmmaking.
Matt Damon, you're out.
If this was
Sean's in.
If this was Sam Mendes and we're comparing this to something like 1917, then we would be like, oh, this is one of the best things of his career. But it's because it's like, well, this guy made Jaws and Jurassic Park and E.T. That it just gets knocked a little bit.
It's just,
I was pleasantly surprised, like at how like similar to 1917 parts of this movie felt.
Yeah,
like
and
I could feel
there's a lot of Dunkirk in here too.
That was what I wasn't expecting. So like going in with basically like no I have no clue what's going on in this movie before I watched it. I went in completely blind.
But you'd heard about the opening is famous. The D-Day.
I knew nothing about I have no clue. I had no clue where it started and where it ended, what the entire point of all of the movie was. So it shows them on the boats, and I'm like, oh, everybody's about to die. Like, hell yeah, this is going to be horrible. And then the cinematography in that opening 20 minutes, it just the shaky camera, you feel like first person. You're just seeing bodies dropping all around you as you're going up the beach.
It's nauseating.
Yeah, and I mean, generally, there's a ton to say about the opening sequence. It's like probably 20 plus minutes of almost nonstop, and it's different than anything Spielberg has ever shot before in his career. I think particularly because he is known, and the reason he is so great is because he's a master of order. Like, he's a master of showing you exactly where you are and what's happening.
Yeah, clarity.
Yeah, his camera pans, his blocking and staging is all so immaculate. But in order to put you in the head of someone like dropping on the beach at Normandy, it has to be like pure chaos. So you like you said, like, we're holding. I asked Ernie during it, do you think he's holding that shit?
It feels like he is.
Because it's like, yeah, we're holding the camera. Even if we're doing like something that like a longer shot with blocking and stuff, like, it's being held. It looks like there's fucking dirt on the lens sometimes. Like, and you only have a sense of place when you really need to, like when you need to figure out like where Hanks is at. The rest of the time, you're almost just getting a true montage of pure chaos because he doesn't want you to feel like you have your bearing.
The fact that
no one did that day.
The fact that it is Hanks is a huge part of that. That, you know, you feel safe with him.
Yeah, you're like, they're not about to kill this guy.
Yeah.
So as long as we're along with him.
Yeah.
I think that, to your point about like perspective and everything, they do it a few times in that D-Day shot to add to the disorienting nature, where like Film School 101 is just like, if it's any kind of like action sequence, you want your characters running from left to right. Like, you want them just all moving in a linear fashion so that like the audience, even in the chaos, can keep track of this. It keeps doing shot reverse shot over and over again to the point where they are running all around, and it truly almost like feels like, are they running back into the water right now? Like, you can't retreating. See what's happening.
And also, you know, like, you get a few minutes of like slowed down flashbang noise, you know, can't hear anything. Hanks is just like, what the fuck? And he's just
Call of Duty loading screen.
That's what I said. Ernest laughed. But in the very early Call of Duties, like 1, 2, 3, when you died in the campaign, it would play like a sort of muffled flashbanging noise like that, and then it would show like a quote by like Albert Einstein about war or whatever.
Albert Einstein of Oppenheimer fame.
Watching this movie, the amount of shit that has been like just wholesale lifted in other movies and video games, is insane.
So I was going to ask you later on, the final set piece in the town, what is the closest COD map to that? Because that feels like that's in like 3 different COD maps were put together.
I was going to get to this, but we can just do it now. So there are a
As
million.
The expert,
there are a million. Definitely in World at War, there are a couple. There are a couple like daytime German rebel maps, or like French rebel maps like that. A couple years ago, they put out COD World War II, and it was like a cheap download. Like I may have got it for free, guys. I swear.
You and Kyler Murray, we got to get you guys away from Call of Duty.
So they did online modes where you did like specific missions, like in World War II, instead of just playing like general team death or like search and destroy. And there are 2 that are identical to set pieces in Saving Private Ryan, in particular, to a point that it's like, I know they're both. I looked it up afterward, and it turns out that like this is all based on a real war, so that could have something to do with it. But the insane specificity of Normandy, like the way that geographically it's mapped out, and you go the way you're moving step by step with Hanks is identical to what you're doing in that game mode. And then the more wholesale one is the bridge mission at the end. That is a multiplayer like big team game mode where you defend a bridge and like blow it up at the right time from panzers and shit like that. It's identical. And I think that cinematically, like a lot of movies are just living in this movie's wake.
Absolutely.
Like,
Ernest brought up Children of Men, which I didn't think of, but
the rainy rubble, the Paul Giamatti sequence,
insanely long takes of people just walking through rubble. It captures the feel exactly.
Yeah.
So I there's a whole thing I need to say about this movie. So just kind of backing up for a beat. This movie was a huge deal for 13-year-old Ernest. Like, when I was learning to love movies as a young lad, becoming a teenager, I got fixated on Saving Private Ryan, like hardcore. And there was a time a little earlier on, like maybe 5th grade. How old are you in 5th grade? Was that like 11?
11.
Okay.
11.
Yeah. So around that age, I started doing like book reports on Steven Spielberg. Like I really like the whole idea of movies and who makes them and like who's like the most famous movie maker. Like that was a whole thing that I was starting to really be fixated on and attached to. By the time I discovered Saving Private Ryan, I'm pretty sure it was a library rental of the DVD.
Hell yeah.
But I have the DVD right here, Hunter, if you want to hold it up to the camera. I think this might be the exact copy that I used to watch over and over and over and over. Probably like all the way through, but specifically the opening, like just that 25-minute chunk. I was so blown away as a child that at what I was seeing, and specifically understanding that it was Steven Spielberg behind the camera, and it was like, oh my God, the guy who made E.T. is making like guys' limbs fly off. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, he cooks so hard.
It was a really kind of like watershed movie for me back in my youth. And now as a 30-year-old man sitting here going in to watch this movie again, I was a little worried that like it wasn't going to quite hold up, you know? And even when I made my Letterboxd account for the first time a few years ago, I had this in my top 4. My original top 4 was like Lion King, Spider-Man 2, Mad Max Fury Road, and this was like the original top 4 when I first made my Letterboxd. But I hadn't really rewatched it in a long time. Like this is not, as an adult, this is not a movie that I go back to a lot. I hadn't looked at it in a long time. And watching it this week, there was a part of me that was saying kind of what you were saying earlier about like Spielberg has his 5-star masterpieces, like undisputed pantheon of movies. And it felt like this wasn't part of that club. And I think for me, it is, honestly. Like, there is just something about this movie that is so magical. It's so entertaining. It's so visceral. It is gutting and uncomfortable at times. And yes, it is dated in a lot of ways. I did feel, especially, we'll talk about it, the framing device of the veteran is like so like 90s.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm a good man.
Just using the Spielberg Horizon shots and then cutting to the American flag. Who needs to look at a T-Rex over there when you could be looking at fucking American flag?
One of the things I told you last night, Drew, when we watched it, I was like, you know, I don't think it's quite 5 stars, but it's damn close. But after sleeping on it, I think to me it is 5 stars. It's one of those like it's one of those like flawed 5-star movies, you know, where it's just like, I'm going to just go ahead and give it the full 5, but there are holes to poke in it.
So Dane, speaking toward what you rubbed up against, I went into it expecting that, because like Steven Spielberg is never going to like come in and try to like shake up American values. Like I can see how coming in fully blind, like not even knowing that the beginning is like a thing. So if you just watch the beginning, you're like, this movie is about to be just pure unfiltered war as hell.
It is absolute whiplash to like go from like woo America to like everybody's dying back to like, all right, let's, you know, make fun of the guy who's dropping his typewriter and like he speaks French and German, so we got to bring him, I guess.
There's some sappiness like in the full, but again, I'm kind of expecting that just because Steven Spielberg just does that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He can't help himself.
I'm like, I fully understand like 5-star movie for you, Ernest, and like it once again goes back to like Aliens. Like, I personally don't like large portions of this movie, but I recognize that they're not bad. It's like it's a preference kind of, and like like, you know, the movie came out more than 25 years ago and I haven't seen it. And, you know, the world has changed quite a bit in 25 years. So,
yeah,
you know,
and movies have changed a lot, and war movies have changed a lot. That's something that we can definitely get into is not just World War II movies, but just the depiction of warfare, I think, has changed a lot. But another thing that I think is worth noting is the idea of a World War II movie specifically is always going to have a certain level of like weird propaganda with it, because you can't. No one's gonna make the case for like we shouldn't have fought World War II.
Exactly. It's World War II is an uncomplicated war in the way that Vietnam is not. Vietnam is very complicated, and that's why the Vietnam movies that have been
Born on the 4th of July
are Platoon and are the ones that are much more complex and have much more to say about like what is America and what are we standing for.
So I mean, if a director out there wants to make a discoursey war movie about World War II, like go for it. Yeah. Because that would genuinely be cool.
But Donald told me that like it's not bad to be a Nazi. So like maybe we need to see what the other side was cooking up.
He like didn't kill that guy, man. All I learned from the biggest takeaway is like don't fucking trust a crowd. You know, they're crowd bastards.
Yeah, it genuinely does teach you to like that war crimes are justified. Like that, the entire lesson of that is
hey,
like,
listen,
that's such a weird message for 1998. I don't know. Maybe that was in line with the times.
If you guys would have just watched 24 with me in the early 2000s as a young lad, then you would know that sometimes you just gotta fucking
sometimes
kill
you
guys.
gotta waterboard an Arab. You know.
Just a Nazi in this situation.
Nice. So, I think that it also really factors in here. We just watched a long time ago at this point, but Born on the 4th of July,
incredible movie.
It's about Nam.
Have you seen Born on the 4th, Dane?
I've not. I've seen an awful lot of like old World War II movies.
If you're in the mood, if it's Vietnam, but if you're in the mood for a depiction of war that has like almost zero like propaganda in it,
it's truly like it doesn't even show you a ton of combat. It's just about this former soldier's life, which is absolute hell because like war destroyed him, and
it's Oliver Stone.
Yeah, and he dedicated his whole life to being anti-war.
It's like truly one of the best Tom Cruise performances ever.
Yeah, so
like it's
my favorite of
it's a really good movie, but again, I mean, every Vietnam movie has more of an avenue to be anti-war than in the 90s. Making a World War II movie that even has an inkling of like, are we sure we should have been there? He would have gotten fucking hung.
Yeah.
It just like wasn't an option back then, and it barely is now, to be honest. So that said, I kind of went in expecting, and again, it's Spielberg. He's not Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone is a bulletin board with like, you know, string attached to pins. Yeah. He's a full on like, you know, he's like, I'm gonna uncover the fucking truth about this shit, man.
Yeah.
Spielberg is not. So that said, I did feel the whiplash going from Normandy to guy dropping all his shit, and Hank's holding up the pen like, looking for this, buddy. That's lame. Like that.
I think having Nathan Fillion in this movie, to jump ahead just a little bit, but
the amount of dudes,
that's great. There's so many guys.
Nathan Fillion existing in this, like, there were so many things, and I'm like, you could have done this and it not been like, let's like have all the heads of state and talk about and go talk to the mother of these kids, or like we'll have Nathan Fillion and, you know, he hears that his brothers are dead and he's Minnesota guy. There's ways to do these story beats that don't feel like jokes to me.
You know, he wanted jokes. Like he wanted there, even during the crazy opening sequence, there's some kills that are like funny.
Yeah, the guy that picks up his arm.
Yeah,
the guy with the helmet where
his helmet takes it off. And
he's like, yeah.
Like there's a lot of that.
But that's pretty late in the sequence. That's almost Steve like kind of like easing you back down a little bit.
And so he wanted jokes in there. Like that whole sequence with Fillion is like, it's just funny.
I hate it, but it's like that's like Fillion before Firefly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he's a baby.
That's
so
Fillion
many
doing
dudes.
Nathan Fillion before he's Nathan Fillion.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so many dudes in this movie before they are guys. Like, I think probably the most obvious one is Vin Diesel, who's like
Barzo.
What, like the 12th or 14th most important person in this movie? Because this is pre Chronicles of Riddick. This is pre.
This is so. The reason he's in this is because he made that short film on his own that picked up a ton of steam in Hollywood about like him being like uncastable because he's racially ambiguous, and like a lot of people saw it. Spielberg saw it and was like, "Damn, that's good shit. I'm gonna find a spot for you."
Yeah,
puts him in fucking Saving Private Ryan. Hey, I like him in the movie.
Yeah, he's great in the movie. I do love that he's just like, I have to save this kid. He reminds me of my niece. Immediately dies, like within 30 seconds.
Terrible idea. Terrible, and everybody else knows it's a terrible idea.
Hey, I do soldiers. Pretty stupid a lot of the time. What do you want me to say?
Here's the thing. I do like that. Like, it's not like we have to like bring this fucking kid with us for 45 minutes or something like that. It's like, no, you fucked up, and now you're just immediately going to pay for it.
That whole sequence is so damn good. The tension,
the Giamatti,
the sniper.
The sniper is so goated. He's like that one friend that you have who can get a tactical nuke in like 2 minutes. That guy invented quick scoping.
There's going to be a lot of Call of Duty talk this episode.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is that Barry? Yeah, Barry Pepper. His name.
I was
goated name.
Incredible. You know that man is like a sniper with like 200 confirmed kills.
Is he the guy they found at the golf course this weekend?
No, he wouldn't have missed.
Oh shit! You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right.
He wouldn't have fucking missed.
Barry Pepper is the ghost of Kiev.
Well, one thing you're saying is that could have easily been a Matthew McConaughey part, and like the thing about Barry Pepper is like he's a little scary.
Yeah,
he can't be like a smooth.
He's a skinny little dude.
He looks like he should be playing a Nazi.
Right. He would have worked out fine on the other side.
I love his character though. He's just a dude who's just fucking good at killing people and never questions it.
What's his line? He's like, "God bless me with an incredible instrument of war."
I had to watch that scene before the pod. I was like, this is the best scene in the entire movie, and it's all because of fucking Barry Pepper right here.
There are so many small moments of these guys just vibing that I love. Mm-hmm. And I was going to try to come in here with a hot take to say that the opening D-Day landing wasn't the best part of the movie. And like, I couldn't find my into that take.
I do think the take though that like that's the best part of the movie and then it gets boring. That's a bad take.
That's bad.
But I think in a lot of people's heads, this movie is like Up in terms of like the beginning carrying it, and that's not true.
Oh, Up, the movie Up.
Yes,
I was confused for a second.
What did you
not
think?
Up in the Air.
I thought you were describing Saving Private Ryan as being a movie that was up.
Yo,
it was an up movie.
Yo, we up right now.
Yeah, you up?
Is this a TikTok thing?
Low-key, he's high-key up.
But where'd Baby Gronk fit into this?
Well, Baby Groot is all over Vin Diesel's filmography. I was trying to find that short film, and it's just all Groot.
Jesus Christ.
So what I was going to say is that the small moments are phenomenal in this movie. Like the Ribisi monologue about his mom.
Hey,
dude,
good job, Giovannni.
Honestly, one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I fucking love Giovannni Ribisi. I want to redo Giovannni Ribisi's career because I think he could have like 3 Oscars. I think that Giovannni Ribisi
still young.
Is incredible.
There's still time.
I mean, there's still his time. I think that he'll have the Paul Giamatti, the Holdovers type role in the next like 5 years.
Hey man,
maybe it's Horizon and American Saga Part 2. I don't know. Where like it'll be a thing where a movie comes out and then we reevaluate his whole cair.
He might win an Oscar for being a cinematographer. Because now he's the DP on Strange Darling.
Was he involved at all with Avatar 2? I know he was in it, but
he was the Na'vi. Yeah, he was they shipped him in from space to actually be the real Oscar
for that.
For being the Na'vi consultant.
Yeah, do we think that he has a role? Like, is that an Oscar
for the third one? Yeah,
for best Na'vi consultant,
cultural consultant.
Yeah, no, his scene though,
Ribisi was in Ted.
don't recall that.
Okay, let's not go down this road.
Listen, here's the thing though. With his whole scene where he's just there talking about like, my mom would always come home and I would always be asleep and she'd just want to hear my day. So sometimes she'd come home from work and I'd just still lay there in bed early and I'd pretend to be asleep. I don't know why I did that. Well, you can just see his eyes, the tears swelling in them. And
then he bites it.
Also, excellently shot through like sort of a hole, a hole between two like bars, two planks of wood. So like you're seeing, it's not even like square resolution. It's like you're seeing like a vertical phone screen worth of him.
God,
it's so effective. Stevie, so many. I mean, it's obviously it's all one take. Like a lot of this movie is like it's just him, just bare. He knows how to block like no other person in history. It's like you're watching it. All those shots. It reminds me of watching movies on like TCM that are from the 40s, where those movies couldn't move the camera much at all, so it's just all blocking. It feels like that.
There's like one scene right at the end, right before the final action, where it's Jeremy Davies, Adam Goldberg, and what's his name, Edward Burns, Brooklyn guy, and they're all on the steps, and he's like translating the French. Mm-hmm. And it just feels like very Wes Anderson to me. Okay. And I'm starting to come around on your like, there are like a lot of little moments that
it's some of my favorite parts of the movie. I mean, when our guy Adam Goldberg is getting like Dune sword slowly through the shield, stabbed. That is an incredible scene. But there is a part of me thinking like, I wish I would have gotten to know him a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because there are so many amazing character moments with other characters. The cast is just big enough that some just don't quite get there. Otherwise, the movie would be like pushing 3.5 hours.
I was thinking
it's under 3.
Listen, while I was like watching this movie, I was just like, again, with Giovanni Ribisi, like, give me the version of this movie that's just about like him and Vin's relationship, because you can tell like that they have these like little subsections of like closer friends within the group, and you can see that like when Carpazzo dies, like it affects Wade the most, that he's just like trying to transcribe the note that Carpazzo was writing to his father to get to him, that then like that he doesn't even ever get delivered to him. It's so tragic. This cycle of death that you just see happening.
I didn't even think about the letter, but you're so right.
Sizemore.
Sizemore rocks.
For me, killing Nazis is the juice.
Opted to not lose a damn pound for this role, and I think that's the right move. Not all soldiers are fucking chiseled. You know what I mean? Yeah. Every single take he looks so hungover. He probably is. May he rest in peace.
Don't you dare speak ill of Tom Sizemore.
Every guy,
he looks so unwell.
Every guy is so unique in this. Like their energy is very different from everybody else's. Like I'm never confusing one of these guys for another.
The only guy I'm not really into is Edward Burns, to be honest. He could have put someone else in that. He has terminal actor face.
Yeah.
He looks so broadly attractive but not specific in any way. I can't stand it when people get cast who look like that.
Yeah, what if it was I don't know, leftist warrior John Cusack? My favorite actor.
It can really be anyone, because all he has to be is just kind of like an angry guy.
Yeah. I mean, if it was now, that would be Glenn Powell.
No, you gotta give Glenn more juice than that.
He would make that role
Glenn Powell's the fucking sniper.
Yes.
No, he's too pretty.
He's too pretty. Hey, he's Private Ryan. We're saving his bitch out. Because here's the thing: when we get to Private Ryan, an hour 48 minutes in, out of like about 2 hours 40 minutes, even if like we don't love him, we gotta like him. You know what I mean?
I don't like him. I hate him.
You don't like his charming story about
he's a bit of a shithead.
About an ugly girl running into a wall, getting knocked out. You don't like.
I was like, wait, this is the guy that we're all dying for. He
has to look like an all-American boy. That's the casting of it. It truly is.
That's the Matt Damon of it all.
Like if they got to him and it was like, you know, he looked like the wimp guy, you know, they'd all be like, oh man, this guy stinks.
I don't know why. So for some reason, because I hadn't seen this movie probably since like high school or so. For some reason, I remember watching this movie in high school, like with my dad or something, and being like, God, Private Ryan's such like a fucking dick. Like, just like, I don't like this guy at all. And I think it's because
the story he tells is insane.
it's so weird.
I think it's
so
that,
weird and off-putting.
And
just
like
it looks
dumb,
like
he's a dumb guy.
He's a stupid hick.
It looks like Tom Hanks is like off put by it for a minute and like has to like cope with the like, yeah, this is the guy.
I think that's why at the end he's like, you better fucking earn this. You better earn that we saved your ass. And no, I think that I didn't like him also because I was already jumping to the categories of WID. I'm getting my fucking ass out of there the second that somebody comes. I'm sorry, boys, that I've known for the last like 6 months. I'm out.
I think it's like a brilliant plot device because it forces them to stay and do one final job, you know. But I also do think that he has to be the most like valorous lad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because in this world, that's what matters,
right?
And so technically, I like the dynamic it creates where like all of the, you know, the troop that came to save him is pissed off, but they're like, I mean, yeah, he's right. He's like, why am I fucking special? And they're like, yeah, honestly, why are you special? You know, I guess we'll fucking stay.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you get to him with an hour left in the movie, super late into the movie. It's like an hour and a half in, and he doesn't want to be saved. Like that's such a fun little twist, fun little wrinkle that sets up the
one final job.
Yeah, that sets up the big climax. And I think that, you know, the resentment that the guys are building up leads into the feeling behind them agreeing to do this, because it's like they don't want to save him, but they're doing it anyway. And then he doesn't want to leave, right? So all these motivations tie into each other. And, you know, I do think that there are a lot of aspects of this movie that all these years later have been done better in other movies. I think the main one that comes to mind is Dunkirk. I feel like we don't get Dunkirk without Saving Private Ryan. It fully stands on it.
Oh yeah,
on its shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Christopher would tell you, Christopher Nolan. Yeah. You know, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, but I'm taking shit."
I kind of prefer Dunkirk in a lot of ways to this movie because it doesn't even try to give you the character stuff. It's just a visceral.
No one knows that that's not his strong suit.
It's all about just survival. That movie has barely anything going on with the characters, and the fact that it doesn't even try makes it this really, really lean thing that's all its own. There are like little bits of Saving Private Ryan that I feel like, you know, could have been elevated even more so if we could have expanded upon its attempts to build out this emotional arc for this ensemble. And I think a lot of people point to Band of Brothers as what that is. Never seen Band of Brothers, unfortunately. Maybe now that I'm in my 30s, I'm going to become like a World War II guy.
I was going to say, when are you going to start picking up history books?
I'm getting close.
Yeah, you're going to be like, we're going to come over here next week. You're going to be telling us all about like Napoleon's rise.
Painting figurines, placing them on a battlefield.
You're becoming Steve Carell in that movie. I got guns in my head and they won't go. Shane Gillis has a great bit about how like if you like history, you're really close to becoming a Republican.
Well, Private Ryan definitely. I'm hoping he lived long enough to vote for Donald Trump.
Private Ryan?
Yeah, the old man.
No, there's no the way that he
Tell me I'm a good man.
The way he's walking and the way he's like mentally vacant, like he's dead by 2010.
I was gonna say, I think that's meant to be 1998. Yeah, my brother isn't. He might not see Bush. Bush.
I meant to Google this before we start recording, but I really wanted to research. Dane, you probably know this off the top of your head. The 90-year-old demographic, how it's split for Trump and Clinton.
Yeah, can you speak on that?
Do I know how 90-year-olds split?
This isn't something that Laura Loomer talks about on her Twitter.
They're obsessed with talking about how young people love him.
Yeah, they ignore the old people.
One thing's for sure,
just flock to
base, the elector, the people that actually elect them.
He would have been crazy for John McCain, though. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
come on,
yeah.
He voted hard. He canvassed.
Maverick.
Do we think he would have been pro invading Afghanistan?
Yeah.
After the horrors he witnessed?
Yeah, well, I mean, all these guys just Stockholm syndrome themselves into it, thinking that it was a good experience for them because they can come to grips with
he wasn't out there that long, you know.
The bigger thing is that they're like,
take it back.
They're just like, that's the only way that men of this next generation will actually earn the right to be Americans. Mm-hmm. Like that's the fucked up.
We didn't have time for pronouns on the battlefield.
God damn.
Jesus Christ.
That's what they are saying.
Yeah.
That's what they are saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there are like a lot of moments where, you know, you're so locked into this whole situation, this war, and in between dudes just being mowed down by machine guns, you're kind of thinking like, man, this is real. This is a real thing that happens in the world. Like just dudes fucking murdering each other on the battlefield with heavy machinery. And it's been turned into this entertainment product. And it's like incredibly effective movie watching, like thrilling movie watching experience. But maybe that same voice, Dane, that kind of like, you know, blinks, the light blinks a little bit, is the same one. The dog has a lot of opinions about this, clearly.
Yeah.
The dog is like, I preferred more whenever we just all on a battlefield and had muskets personally, but
it's tough. It can be a tough movie watching experience to like be entertained and then also think like, holy shit, this is horrible. This is a horrible thing I'm watching.
When it's horrible, that's when it's the best, I think. Mm-hmm. Like the parts where I was like, you know, pleasantly nonchalant about everything were less good by a wide margin to all of the stuff where I was like, this is hard to watch. I don't think I can say that I'm like enjoying this, right? It's kind of rubbernecking, but it's like
so violent. Yeah. It's such a violent movie.
I think that one of the things, because I do think like you come to this movie for the violence, and like if some of the quieter scenes work and are effective, then that's just like a bonus. I do think like if I'm going to knock some of the things on here, I tend to lean towards knocking again, going back to this writer Robert Rodat, because here's his filmography outside of this. Comrades of Summer, The Patriot, 10,000 BC. Oh, here's a big one. Thor: The Dark World.
He did 10,000 BC?
Yeah. No, like this, he's not like, other than Saving Private Ryan, he really has not had any big hits. And I think that's why some of the quieter moments can get saved by great chemistry within the actors, even if like the things that they are saying is not always great. Like, for example, I think that whenever they go to the spot where it's like the meetup, and there's a ton of different troops, they're looking around trying to find where Ryan is, and there's the plane crash that's there. I think that like a better script and a better story would have really laid out, like, one of the things he almost just says nonchalantly is like, yeah, no, because of some commander or major's cowardice, they like welded a bunch of extra metal to the plane to try and protect it, and then it weighed it down, and it came down crashing and killed 22 Allied troops. Like, it feels like that was not hammered into enough about like how fucked up war can be, and how like just general cowardice of man can then backfire and kill not only you but your own troops that you're trying to be there to protect and fight for.
I kind of disagree, because I think that actor slayed it like the way he's kind of stuttering a little bit, and the way that there's tears in his eyes.
Yeah, he is,
but
that is unwell.
It's incredibly well
that,
acted.
that actually does kind of speak to your point. So I love that, but then also it's it's sort of the piece this movie deals with a lot, which is like this happens, and then these dudes have to just like set up camp right next to that and move on.
Yeah,
and it's like, what the fuck?
They have to just start like searching through the dog tags.
Yeah,
and then I do like the Ribisi moment where he's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, they're just like passing around like, oh, you got a Ryan? I don't got a Ryan. Like chucking things around is like their friends and like comrades are like walking past them, essentially just throwing away their lives on the ground because that's not the 1% that they're looking for.
There's so many really, really great, like just individual character moments. Like, it's not surprising to me how stacked with dudes this is, because every one of these dudes pretty much like went on to actually like have a good career. There's so many people that like,
except for Edward Burns.
Yeah, I guess Ted Danson's kind of like the Benedict Cumberbatch in 1917, where it's like, oh yeah, I know this guy. This guy's big and famous. But like, other than that,
he's like, I'll be out, gentlemen.
I think that award goes to Bryan Cranston, one-armed Bryan Cranston, who you're like, why? Wait, why is one-armed Bryan Cranston in this
was
movie?
Malcolm in the Middle on in 1998?
No.
No.
I was looking this up because I was like, there were so many dudes. I had to figure out when everybody got famous.
This is actually a great Ribisi Hanks Cranston reunion from
That Thing You Do.
From That Thing You Do.
Wow,
exactly. Yeah. Well, Hanks, I think that this is his real follow-up to the double Oscars, because Toy Story had been really worked on before. And That Thing You Do is like this side, this passion project that he gets to do because he's on this massive winning streak. But for mass audiences, this movie is like the main follow up. The next time you're really seeing Hanks on the big screen,
it's him doing a Spielberg. Big deal.
We are skipping The Green Mile, which is also, I think the Green Mile is the year after this.
Green Mile is the year after. We are doing You've Got Mail, though, right?
Yes.
Which is the same year. This is another double Hanks.
Yeah, he's in the middle of something truly like generational. Yeah. He's in the middle of just absolute flames.
I will say, I'm okay that we're skipping The Green Mile.
Yeah.
The Green Mile's pretty, it's fine.
No hot takes on The Green Mile, Dane?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
That's one of those.
I can give you a hot take. I can watch it.
R.I.P. Michael Clark Duncan. Michael Clark Duncan is excellent in that movie, but that's like a movie that hasn't really aged very well.
Yeah, I mean, facts.
But yeah,
I think like a lot of Hank's performances in this area, it's sneaky, really difficult, because you have to inherently like him. There's no other way that we're going to follow
Miller.
We're going to follow this guy around. We understand why they're listening to him, even though he's making massive fucking mistakes. Like he gets Ribisi killed wholesale. Like everyone knows it. They tell him beforehand, you're going to get someone killed. He then gets him killed. And they all rally back behind him. A, because, military, blah, blah, blah. But B, because that's Tom fucking Hanks.
Oh, I mean, that whole thing was like, it was actually like, it ended up being lucky because they got those machine guns that they did use in the final sequence. So it's like, it wasn't for nothing, but like in the heat of the moment, it does feel like nothing. And you do have to rally around this guy who's just been like, I almost feel like he's the villain, but like I know that he's not the villain. He's just like the guy who is in charge in the moment, but he's not really in charge.
He's just an English teacher.
That's all.
Well, a lot of these guys, I watched on the DVD. There's a special feature,
nice.
Kind of little making of. You can watch it on YouTube too. It's called Into the Breach.
No, you can only watch it on physical media.
It's superior.
Yeah.
But that little short has a lot of interviews with like real guys, like real troops. The greatest generation is speaking for itself on this special feature, and they talk about how like there was something about a lot of the enlisted that they were just normal people, right? We're used to now having like career military men whose entire persona is the troops and like serving in war. In this case, in World War II, it wasn't that at all. I mean, you probably had some guys like that, but it was mostly just regular people signing up to kill some
or
Nazis.
not signing up, getting drafted
because
facts. Pearl Harbor got bombed. And
Pearl Harbor, better or worse than Saving Private Ryan, the film? Michael Bay.
I think you were going to say the act of Pearl Harbor. I was going to say probably worse. Not a lot of
I made the letterbox list, as I do.
What's the list?
Of World War II.
Oh, okay. So did you question, because I was having this discussion with wife of the pod guy before we came here. Do you consider Holocaust movies World War II movies?
They're on this list, but the problem I faced while making this is there are so many like subcategories of World War II movies. Yeah. So
how many World War II horse movies do you have on there?
Is War Horse World War II?
I'm pretty. That's got to be World War One. Yeah, there's no way they were.
How many World War horse movies do you have on this list?
So
they should have called it that.
Yeah, World War Horse.
I would have seen it then. I would have been like, which war?
Yeah, the Great War Horse.
So the category that Saving Private Ryan fits into is the type of movie that shows combat. It's the combat movie, right? You're with the troops. You're seeing the shit.
Yeah.
Then you get into your darkest hours, right?
Yes.
Movies that are more about like the political machinations of the war, not necessarily there might be some action in these movies, but it's not like the main thing. Then you get Holocaust movies, absolutely their own subcategory. And then there's this whole like romance. Like Casablanca is like
that's a World War II movie. Yeah,
that's 100%.
Weird.
Yeah.
Do you have a killing Nazis?
I would put Inglourious Basterds in the combat category because you're following troops. Like these are.
I like that you went. I'm like my exposure to like World War II movies is like my dad's old ones that like he watched in like the 70s and the 80s. So it's like. It's way more like glorifying and stuff.
Well,
you're watching like some
Patton rocks. Patton's good.
Patton is good. Patton rocks.
I would even put those into their own category.
Okay.
Like
now you're just
no. I think that
you were excusing your own list making habit.
No.
By necessitating making more
and
lists.
Here's the thing.
This is all one list.
I'm going to promote it. But I do think Patton fits into like the darkest hour. I think that's more in the political inner workings behind the scenes of war.
Yeah. I think it's really challenging because I haven't seen most of these movies. I've only seen 20% of this list. And it's hard to kind of fully make all those categorizations. But the thing that is clear is that there definitely are eras of World War II movies. And what you're talking about, Dane, is a very specific era when Hollywood was making things that were about heroes, like these big productions about like the heroic acts of the troops, and you might get something like a Great Escape in there, which is about prisoners of war.
Not really a combat movie, but it's
now that's one you could make a subcategory for as prisoner of war movies.
Oh my god.
Listen, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, The Great Escape. You got a few. There's two.
The big thing here is that Saving Private Ryan came at a very specific time in terms of seeing World War II depicted on screen, because the 90s were not a time when they were really pumping out anything like this. You'd have to go back to almost the 70s. What year is Bridge on the River Kwai?
Oh, that's the 50s. That's 1950. That's
super old.
I might guess like 57.
Yeah. So, but even in the 70s, the other thing is international cinema, like things like Come and See. That's 80s.
Yeah.
So you don't get a lot of the 70s has like the critical stuff around Vietnam, and that starts to bleed into all war. And so when you get a war movie, a World War II movie in that era, it's going to have some kind of anti-war tinges. But by the time 98 rolls around, that's not what audiences had been primed to see. They were seeing things like The English Patient.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that you're right, because even something like you mentioned Come and See, which is my favorite World War II movie. Like, Come and See, Dane, if you want to see a movie that's just about the horrors of war, watch Come and See, because that movie
that I want to, but
truly just one of the most viscerally effective war movies that you can ever possibly see. But even that, it's a movie. It's from the Russian perspective in World War II, and it's a Russian-made film. It's not an American-produced feature, because
that's why it's so.
That's why those guys are real. So visceral. Yeah. But also, like, even whenever you're getting into the 2000s, at that point, like, America had moved on where you might get some stuff that is, like, more focused on Middle Eastern based because of Gulf War times, or even something like Jarhead, kind of
Black Hawk Down.
This is my gun.
That's Jake.
That was Jake.
In Jarhead.
Yeah. Remember, this is my gun. Yeah, Jughead. And then we get a revival of some of the shoot 'em up shoot 'em up Nazi movies with Bastards. That Bastards really starts, and then we're getting like Nazi zombies and everything else, and we're like back into it. But
back to COD. Yeah, COD is an integral. It really is. Not jokes. It is an integral part of like our association with things like Saving Private Ryan and war movies. I think that they're intrinsically linked, and even what I was saying earlier about that time when I grew to love this movie, like that is COD years. 13 is like major COD years. I was playing World at War, the original World War II, or not the original, but
speaking my language,
one of the original World War II COD games, and watching Saving Private Ryan on a loop.
You're watching Saving Private Ryan, like, where are the zombies?
Yeah.
that feels like some like Clockwork Orange type shit. Like your brain is fried after that.
It's crazy how, and you think
I didn't enlist.
And you think Dane's sick for watching Tim Pool.
I should. It's crazy that I didn't enlist. There's definitely like a variant of me out there that got sucked into the fucking military machine.
Oh my God.
Because of Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan.
It's see, I was at that time, well, maybe slightly younger than that, but I was more of a Medal of Honor kid. So I was more of just like, let's kill Japanese soldiers. Well, for playing Medal of Honor Rising Sun.
Spielberg was involved in Medal of Honor in some way.
Really?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, guess what? Fuck you, Steven. You lost.
Yeah, he did lose that one. Yeah.
He lost the SEO battle too.
Oh.
When I search Medal of Honor, guess what comes up? The actual like Medal of Honor.
Oh God!
Imagine that
by the government.
Yikes!
Yeah, embarrassing. See, that's the great thing about playing Call of Duty multiplayer is I understand all sides.
Yeah, you're actually an empath now because of COD.
Yeah, like I've heard
verified people on all sides.
Exactly. From my experience, there are actually almost exclusively bad people on all sides saying slurs that you could not imagine.
I've heard slurs you couldn't believe. Not attack ships on fire. So the first sentence of the Medal of Honor wiki is a series of first-person shooter games created by American film director and producer Steven Spielberg.
That's
the
created by. Yeah. Okay, we're really using created by liberally here. Do you think my boy Steven was in the lab?
He was heavily involved,
cooking up ones and zeros here.
All the characters are doing the DreamWorks smirk
as they're committing war crimes. That's the face that Upham gives at the end when he finally decides to kill a guy.
Yeah, he's like,
and he looks in the camera and goes,
Dave, you know what's so crazy about that scene is like I totally felt like the intention behind that moment of Upham killing that guy is like, yes, finally you're a murderer and we like you now.
It feels like absolutely tonally incorrect from what's happening on screen. It's like he's just like, yeah, I've given up on my principles and like I goofed. Like I would have much rather him like he sees the guy there, just shoot him behind lines and die there. That's a great ending to your character arc instead of what happens.
I think the problem is it would be a great ending if the entire ending of the movie was just bleak. But like,
yes,
that is such
playing. As he does a war crime.
He does that thing. And then the John Williams like twin twin. Well, that's sweeping music comes in, and you're like, what?
That's ultimately why, because it's not allowed. But like, I can see how like baked into like a script about how war is hell. Like you see in his he is fully broken. That guy will never live a normal life. He
probably owns like a dealership
where he just speaks German. No, that is the guy that Hanks and them released like earlier on, right? Like that's the same guy. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
That's what's so crazy because he shoots Cap Miller.
Yeah.
He's out there just like firing them off and one of them hits Cap Miller.
Yeah. And once again, this is why you don't take prisoners.
Also, I'll say
kill them all.
I do think that's
Jack Bauer.
That might be the only poorly shot in the whole movie in my
Hanks
opinion.
Going down.
Yeah, because
I like that. Well, it's from like way far.
It's kind of confusing.
I don't know. To me, it's one of those where like it almost like in the episode 3 of The Last of Us, where like the guy just kind of walks out there and gets shot, and it's like, dude, what? Like Hanks just kind of like is out in the open all of a sudden. It's like, well,
he's just shooting the pistol.
Oh, well, there are a lot of things about this final set piece that don't make sense.
Well,
like,
your sense,
the whole idea of like what they're even doing is like, okay, they're gonna coerce a tank into this path and then disable it. They're gonna disable one tank, and then like they're gonna shoot a bunch of Germans.
Well, they're like, we have to kill as many
them.
Germans as we can. We will die, no matter what. We're dying.
I don't think they want to like destroy the bridge. Like that's their last resort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the bridge is useful to them and it's also useful to the Germans, but like they don't fully have control of it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They would rather disable a tank and then be able to move that later and move their tanks across it.
I do have one question, which is just the outpost that they chose. It seems like they could have gotten a little bit deeper, a little bit further out. Like I have a lot of logistical questions on this town.
So here's the thing is, and that this is a part that I think that Spielberg gets pretty right a lot of the time in this, is that like these dudes are just sort of figuring out what they should be doing like on the fly. They're just sort of like, I guess let's go with that. Like this guy knows how to make the sticky bombs. This guy knows, like I love the sequence where fucking Damon knows how to use noob tubes without the tube. That fucking rocks. Oh, God, I wish that had been a perk in Todd 5.
Hitting them on the metal.
Yeah, like it's stuff like that. And so a lot of the time you're disoriented in that final sequence because it's like these guys like don't know where these guys they're coming from at a certain point.
They don't know where they such a knockout though.
They don't know where they should be facing. They don't. Yeah, exactly. Because like, again, I think it's done with a lot of intent, given how Spielberg is like addicted to blocking good. Yeah. When he does it poorly and you're confused, it's because these guys are confused as fuck. They don't know where the enemy is.
And it's all within context of all these smaller scenes within the larger sequence. Like the whole stretch where they're kind of walking through the plan a little bit. There's these moments when you get these longer takes and you're kind of following Hanks through the space as he's pointing to the tower and to all these different things to try to explain what it's going to be. And the goal of that scene is not to get you to understand exactly what the plan is, but just to give you the feeling that these guys like are going into this with some kind of intention. And that the thing like the camera movement is so important because now I feel like the easy thing to do is to shoot everything in coverage.
Yes.
Where you just like have the wide shot and then you go in for your close-ups and you don't have these moments where you're kind of moving through the space. And Spielberg is so good at within a single take giving you a wide and a close-up without cutting around.
It's insane.
There are so many moments throughout where it's just like, man, it's not flashy because Cuarón, I fucking love Children of Men, one of my favorites of all time. But no, it calls attention to itself.
Yeah, he's making you go like,
Cuarón is much more of a
long.
capital A athletic filmmaker for both the good and the bad that term comes with. I think also to your point about how effective it is shooting up close with the troops, it's also a lot cheaper. Man, the budget for this movie is only like $70 million. Like
which was a good bid for 98.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying in general, like, because you are shooting more up close and you're shooting more practical, because digital effects actually cost like just as much, if not more, than practical effects. Like, the fact that they are shooting much more smaller sections makes it a lot cheaper to do.
Oh yeah.
Than shooting everything with wide coverage shots. Shooting something like Dunkirk, which is just going to cost more because there's more extras. There's more digital effects that have to come with this. When you are doing practical stuff, there's more practical effects that just have to be done and done over and over and over again to get the shot right.
It's also why a lot of why this movie has aged so well in terms of how it looks, because like there are only a couple of shots where you can see two shots being composited together because it's so wide and it's showing like a giant location that you know that they didn't have actually.
Yeah.
So you can see a couple, there's one where it's showing, up in the tower and then like panning down to like another building that has the guys up against it. And you're like, okay, that's two shots. But like, other than that, you're seeing like pretty modern filmmaking, it looks super solid. I love our guy, our sniper's death.
It's so good.
What a way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like of all the deaths, that's how I would want to go. Just like fucking shouting to your buddy as you get blown up by a tank.
I think I want to go like the first, the Nazi sniper, just bullet through the eye.
Oof.
Just straight through the eye, come out the back end, and then that's it.
I hope that actually takes me out. That's the thing.
That is
if you're just kind of bleeding out for a second.
Before I die in World War II, what I would definitely want to do is do what Paul Giamatti did, where I sit down to tie my shoe and then like I accidentally knock over a wall and you see a bunch of Nazis and then he's like, clean up at aisle 3.
That's a great little moment. That rocks.
Don't you talk shit about Paul.
Hey,
he's an angel.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one. You are right about like having like almost like a funny death at the end of a big long action sequence to like prime you of like,
there's a lot.
All right, guys, you can relax a little bit. No more of our friends are gonna die.
Even in the middle
Steps
of
on
like
a landmine.
Yeah. Even in the middle of like the insanity of the final battle, there's that one part where Edward Burns and Damon go run for cover and Tom Hanks is like, Ryan, are you okay? And Edward Burns is like, I'm fine. Thanks for asking. There's like machine gun fire coming straight at them.
So, according to ChatGPT, inflation calculator for $1998 would be the budget for this movie would be about double.
Yeah.
So 130 to 140 million for
that's
a movie
still
today.
Not bad. That's still like sub 250. Deadpool and Wolverine cost $250-300 million.
Mm-hmm.
What?
And for what?
For fucking what? Yeah, like exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Gotta also we've shout out him a bunch. Spielberg gets a ton of credit, but gotta give shout out to his like longtime cinematographer, Janis Kaminski. Shot Schindler's List, shot like most Spielberg movies throughout his entire career. I think my favorite shot like in the entire movie is right after they had that little reprieve in the church and they're like, we have to wake up in 2 hours to like get moving and stuff. And then there's them walking along the ridgeline at nighttime, and you can't tell if it's thunder or if it's like bombs going off behind them, but it's illuminating them, and they look like fucking like ghosts walking. There's shadows,
so good,
just walking through. It's like, man, fucking 10 out of 10. You just good job, guys. You did it.
Even the dissolve into that shot from the close up of Hanks, into that is so expertly done.
Good shot, Janice.
Yeah. Also, another just great piece of filmmaking is the way that the tanks and specifically when they're approaching is like a monster movie.
Yes.
You hear the rumbling for like 5 full minutes.
And then it shot super low. That first shot,
Yeah,
like
they're
introducing
scary.
them coming in.
Yeah, but most of the time when you're seeing a tank, it's from under it, and you're like, Jesus, fuck.
It looks larger than life.
Yeah.
When in reality, like, how tall is a tank? Like,
They're not that
8
big.
feet?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it can't be that big.
I wouldn't be scared.
Especially these. I don't know, Dane. You have access to the schematics of the vehicles used in this film?
Yes, absolutely. I posted them on War Thunder forums. I didn't, government. I that's a joke. No, I don't know.
How accurate do you feel like all of that stuff is? Like, because Drew was saying that he could name like every gun.
Yeah,
because of COD.
My inner COD kid was like, it was like a sleeper agent. I was like, M1 carbine, reload. Like fucking, it was crazy. The MG40s.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Drew, you're like this close to being a gun guy. You're dangerously close.
I don't think about them unless
that's late 30s. You're gonna be gun guys.
I'm just trying not to relapse into. This is why I don't have.
COD.
God, I can't wait for us to be Republicans.
Any video games, like I can't play video games because I just can't stop.
Right.
So I have a PS4 with like no games. That's fine.
You know, there's a really great World War II sequence in Death Stranding where you get to
Actually,
shoot some
a couple.
Nazis.
A couple sequences.
Well,
One
there's
really big.
World War One, then World War II, then I guess it's Vietnam, the third one.
I don't need those fucking Tony little movie games that you guys play.
Well, these sequences in particular are pretty
They're
shooty.
basically Call of Duty. Like you're just playing Call of Duty for a little bit.
If I'm not
But speaking
shooting
of
like
the movie
a
game,
person who is alive on the other end of it, I'm not interested.
Death Stranding does end with about 4 hours of cutscenes as the end of the game. So yes, your point still stands. Just get a PS5 so we can you can join me in year 2035 of my dynasty because I have a problem.
In college football?
Yeah, I can't stop.
Oh, nice.
It's sickening.
It's going well?
Yeah, bring in another number one recruiting base to Florida State. So
okay.
It's that easy, Mike Norvell.
Go Knowles.
Going back to the point about the historical accuracy, like a lot of these old guys had a lot of input in this movie. You know, this movie is such a home run in a lot of ways for Greatest Generation. And I guess Forrest Gump is more like boomers.
yeah, because Forrest Gump is Vietnam.
Right. Okay. So this in a lot of ways, obviously it's not like this massive story, but I feel like this movie represents like Greatest Generation being, you know, getting up there, getting ready to leave us. And they're like, all right, Steve, we're gonna let you in on how this shit actually went down. And we're gonna make sure that this is like a celebration. As riveting and like horrifying as this movie gets, in a lot of ways it is this kind of victory lap for these guys. And, you know, it does fall firmly on the side of war propaganda if you're asking the question. So I think it's still maybe left up to discussion for some people.
I think it can be a celebration of these people while also not being war propaganda, though. That's like where I land at the end of the day. But
they're the troops. They fought in it. You kind of, if you're gonna celebrate the troops, you're gonna have to do a little war propaganda.
You have to celebrate, you know, war and the meat grinder and the military industrial complex and Halliburton and Lockheed and all. You know, hey man, you gotta.
It was a different time. You know, Hitler was involved.
It's also Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Like he's, you know what I mean? He's not going to end his movie with the old guy being like weeping and saying like, it wasn't worth it.
I didn't earn it.
Steve's dad fought in the war. Could you imagine little Paul Dano?
The cock.
In battle?
Oh boy.
He served time in...
He was the translator.
Yeah, honestly,
he was like cowering in a stairway.
Honestly, probably, yeah. Yeah, he was in, I think, like the African front or something. Which, by the way, Tom Sizemore, when he grabs the dirt, doesn't it say Italy and Africa? Like, you're not going to specify like
that character is dumb as hell.
I did
Morocco
like that
or-
he just thinks Africa is country.
He doesn't know where the fuck he is.
That did make me laugh. I like that little character detail about him. And he's just puts in a big old fat dip before he goes in there to war.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh, yeah, brother.
Steve was going to celebrate his dad, like, and all these old guys. Like, there is no way that he was never going to. And in doing so, they get all this input into the film. I think originally they were going to the idea for the story was to make it a little bit more of an adventure movie, and having the rescuing of Private Ryan be this public PR thing that the government is doing to kind of rev up support for the war, and have an angle that you're very much back in the United States following the story of, like, is Private Ryan gonna make it home?
That would suck.
That would suck really hard if we
So
kept cutting back.
I'm sure that is the original script. That's what I was gonna say about, like, the guy who wrote this. With movies of this magnitude, like, whatever he wrote is left in the dust. Like, they bought it and then they completely changed everything.
Stevie kind of gutted it.
Yeah. Because that's just how it goes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the old men, they had enough of a say to tell Steve, like, don't do that. That's a bad idea. You should stick to depicting this as realistically as possible.
Yeah.
And it paid off. And there's so many stories of veterans going to see this movie in the theater and kind of not being able to see it because it just immediately triggered them and brought them right back to it. And that's kind of like a horrible thing, but it's also it says a lot about the effectiveness of the movie. So for it to be as entertaining as it is, and then also be this incredibly realistic portrait of what it must have been like, it puts it up there. But yeah, there's a lot of this I'm pulling from the Wikipedia. I guess in becoming a war guy, I'm going to start falling asleep to reading Wikipedia articles is kind of in tandem with that. So I did spend the few hours last night before passing out reading the whole.
We finished the movie pretty late, by the way.
The Wikipedia page for Saving Private Ryan is amazing. It's so long. There's so many good things in here. I recommend everyone out there try to dive as deep into it as you can, because the stories of, like,
don't, like, read a book about World War II. Just read the Wikipedia page for Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, it's very long.
The original script itself is very loosely based on, like, real people, but it basically just boils down to, like, there were 4 brothers and, like, most of them died. Like, that's about it.
Yeah.
So, like, from there, which, again, I'm going to say this time and time again, that's the way to handle taking stuff from real life. Just change everything. You're allowed to do that and make it better and cooler. So yeah, bro took it and cooked with that. I definitely could see, like, because, you know, speaking of a movie that tries to ape a lot from this in Pearl Harbor, but, like, obviously is, you know, it's trying to do a lot of other stuff.
So
Michael Bay bullshit.
I was going to bring up Michael Bay because apparently according to this Wikipedia, he was hired on to make this movie.
Can you imagine how bad? Oh my god!
And he left.
None of the random violence would be nonchalant at all. It would be like this guy just died. Look at that! Wow.
For those
next
at home,
guy.
I was gonna bring this up when we got to the Cage Goers. I'm wearing my ambulance hat in honor of Michael Bay, Saving Private Ryan that never got made.
Every 10 minutes it would cut back to a loving wife at home sobbing and being unable to help.
It would be Liv Tyler.
But could you imagine if drone technology existed in Saving Private Ryan? The drone shots would be just unreal.
He said he could not figure out how to approach the material. So he left the project.
But he was like, "Oh, Pearl Harbor, I got that.
Yeah.
I can figure that one out easy." That's so funny.
It's such a funny thing. At this point, this is the same year as Armageddon. So he's like, "No, Armageddon. I know the end on this story." But
asteroids. You don't gotta consider the real life experience of asteroids.
A couple other tidbits from this section is Paramount was developing multiple World War II projects during this time. one had Bruce Willis attached, and the other had Arnold Schwarzenegger. I guess I wonder what side he would be on of the conflict.
I'd watch a Bruce Willis World War II movie.
He did one. I think it was bad. I think it's called Heart's War. I don't think anyone has seen Heart's War.
I'll be the first.
That is the Bruce Willis World War II movie.
What if do you think Paramount was considering doing like a counter to Saving Private Ryan called like Rescuing Commander Craig?
Right.
That's actually really good
knockoff.
Great name.
It's the German version of like there was good guys on both sides.
Heart's War doesn't come out until 2002 though, and I don't even know if that's Paramount, because essentially when Steven Spielberg came on the project, they canceled those movies or iced them for indefinitely, because they were like, all right, we're gonna go all in on Steven Spielberg making a World War II movie. We're not going to pursue these other projects. And then Hanks, I think was, I'm trying to see, there was some other people attached to playing Captain Miller.
I know the original Ryan was going to be Ed Norton.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
And then Ed Norton passed it up to do American History X, which good move by him. Just good career move. Take a leading performance there.
He'd have been weird as
I don't
Ryan.
think
he
Ed
was
Norton
asked,
is getting his ass out of there at the moment that they're coming to save him.
He was asked to play a good man, and he was like, I don't know how to approach this material.
So Mel Gibson and Harrison Ford were both considered for playing Captain Miller.
Oh my God, Mel Gibson.
No.
So it is
in this era, though.
The heater that's actually very
2 years
underdiscussed.
after, or 4 years, I guess, after Braveheart.
The heater that he was on in the 90s is very underdiscussed by our generation, because obviously he's just fully gone now.
Yeah.
And like even
hey man, he has a new movie coming out.
I don't want to.
I saw the trailer.
Honestly,
what was it called? Like Monster
fun.
Squad or something?
No, isn't it the movie where he's it's. Isn't it the one where like they're on a plane? And the plane
he didn't. He's not in that.
No, but he directed it.
He directed that.
Oh yeah,
but he's been directing. Like he stayed directing, but because he made like Hacksaw Ridge.
No, but what's I don't maybe he's still ready for a comeback.
Dude, he is gonna try.
I can't believe that he's trying to act.
But nobody is promoting this movie. This trailer,
Monster Summer.
Yeah, that's what it is.
What the fuck is this movie?
He was so.
It's not real.
Like
it's not a real movie.
He was so insanely on fire through the entire 90s. The Lethal Weapon movies, by the way, just rock so hard. They're phenomenal.
I like
movies.
6 and 7. Those are good ones.
Did they
Passion of the Christ
they made that
Resurrection
many?
coming soon. Also, Lethal Weapon 5 is in development, so
oh boy,
that's good for you guys, right?
They really are getting too old for this shit.
Harrison Ford, though, I think would have been amazing as Captain Miller.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I do think that actually
that does work.
He's old.
That's
98.
When did Indiana Jones?
The last Indiana Jones at that era was Last Crusade, which was in 89.
89. Yeah. Okay.
It makes sense. I mean, it works with him being like older than Hanks is in this for sure, because like this guy cannot be like just like a purely like, a super fit, like chiseled jaw. You see him and you're like, that's my leader.
Yeah.
The whole thing is he's kind of unnassuming, because you have to find out that he's an English teacher and be like, yeah, duh. Like that's your vibe.
He's kind of like a deeply cynical also. And Harrison Ford, he's an action guy, and Tom Hanks is not really an action guy.
Yeah,
right. Not at all, man. I mean, I think that now we see him as a little bit more willing to go into roles like that because of this movie. But then you get like, Castaway and all these other roles. But at this point, him doing this part, I think is like a really big deal.
Yeah.
Because
it's a bit of a swing. I mean, this is definitely very different from anything that he has done prior to this. He is just on such a heater that he's like, I can kind of do anything.
So I was trying to remember why I was recently thinking about how huge Mel Gibson was. It's because I was adding movies to the Zero Discourse list on Letterboxd.
So he was big to you personally.
Well, no. So this is a podcast that me and Colin are never going to do. That's about movies that I've decided that it'd be way more entertaining if it's about movies that did well but are not talked about at all.
Right.
So going back through the 90s, looking at the top box office of every year, every single movie that isn't one of our guys, like one of our Toms or Denzel, it's all Mel or Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford like movies like Air Force One that they made like $300 million.
Air Force One is still a big thing. I think Air Force One.
Who's
matters.
talking? Who's talking about it?
Gen Alpha.
Hunter's talking about it.
Gen Alpha loves
Guys with
Force
the
One.
The Rizzlers talking about Air Force One.
guys with
Baby
TNT.
Gronk loves Air Force One. Just the shoes, though.
Anyone who has TNT on.
I know that's not the best example, but like the top like 30 of every year is just dominated by those two fuckers. He's pretty old by 98. I mean, I love Harry Ford. He also though he's just too hot.
He might be too hot. I'm sorry. I gotta get back to Mel Gibson for one thing. I don't know. Did you? Because I found the movie that I was thinking of. It's a movie called Flight Risk that's coming out this year. Are you guys familiar with the film Flight Risk?
Well,
It's the only other person who might be on the same level of cancelability with Mel Gibson, Mark Wahlberg. And it's about a pilot transports an air marshal accompanying a fugitive to the trial. As they cross the Alaskan wilderness, tensions soar and trust is tested, as not everyone on board is who they seem. Mark Wahlberg is actually a terrorist to the one who's flying them.
Wahlberg would have been great as one of the guys in the crew in this movie. He would have been great as like Vin Diesel or the guy who almost leaves, Ed Burns or whatever.
Honestly,
could he do the
Mark Wahlberg could do Ed Burns very well.
He's got to talk with a Boston accent and just really let loose.
could he do the Adam Goldberg role?
No,
that's offensive.
Come on, hey,
That's Ernest. You can't say that.
I know Mel Gibson would love to do that.
I bet
He would opt in.
Yeah.
He's like, I got
Mel
something
Gibson would be
special
like,
for
I'll
that
actually kill myself here. To set an example.
Mel Gibson doing like the clumps where he's both him and the guy killing him.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
So here's something interesting.
Mel Gibson wishes that he was in Schindler's List.
The point about this movie being underrated for Letterboxd heads, I don't know if it's that accurate now that I'm looking. When I sort the movies we're covering on this series by average rating, this is the #1 movie. This is higher than Forrest Gump and Toy Story for average rating on Letterboxd.
No, I think that's wrong. Well, Forrest Gump, yes. Toy Story, no.
Well, Forrest Gump is 2. Forrest Gump is above Toy Story on Letterboxd.
That's also insane to me. I think that this movie means a lot to millennials. Because I think that like we were of a certain age.
We're the real greatest generation.
Well, I think that this is such a cable movie. Like this is like put this I'm trying to think of some other good examples that are like truly in like the TNT Hall of Fame that have just been on for like fucking forever. That like whether it's like a good like I'm always thinking of like Shawshank Redemption is kind of in that vein of just things that were on like both TNT and USA. Yeah. And they would pop up on some other like network every now and then.
USA is only blasting bad comedies. TNT's got the action at this point.
Characters welcome. By the way, hey, guess what, Dane? My sister and her boyfriend both have COVID. And so they're like stuck at their house. And the other day, she sent me a picture. They're watching Psych, baby.
They're watching Psych.
Yeah, buddy.
Characters welcome. Let's go. You know, it runs in the family. It's in our fucking blood.
Are they watching it through Peacock?
Probably the cock, yeah.
Oh my God. Wow, that's a huge get for Peacock. Is the
COVID
you're gonna say COVID audience,
the COVID havers?
Yeah, the people that are sick.
I think maybe I am off in my assessment. I think I might just be talking in terms of discourse then, because like I think the thing with this movie is it kind of doesn't need to have like a second look because it was properly recognized when it came out. Because like now you'll see a lot more people talk about something like Catch Me If You Can, but that's because it was underappreciated when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Also, like, I do think, again, like before, like it's working its favor that it didn't win the Best Picture, because it's always any movie that wins Best Picture, it then becomes like cemented for that year that people look back on and they're like, oh, well, it wasn't as good as this movie that won. And so in a lot of ways it does kind of work in its favor in the long run to not win.
It's also, you know, it's not obnoxiously propagandistic in a way that like Forrest Gump is, where you're watching it and you're like, oh my God.
It's like beating you over the head with like, we're all going to be okay because we live in America.
But it still also does have enough of that it's not like you can't call it ahead of its time.
Yeah,
you know?
We just watched Forrest Gump, Dane. Like, we're a little bit more primed to...
Way more jaded about that.
Yeah.
It really like reminded me of like the like SG-1, like America, fuck yeah kind of vibes. But like... At least like SG-1 had the common courtesy to like know that it was military propaganda and like make jokes about that. Whereas like this movie, like it feels kind of jokey, but like, I don't know. Spielberg
is not a transgressive. He doesn't have transgressive viewpoints. You know what I mean? He just, you know what I mean? Like he is he's what Kamala was talking about. He exists in the context of everything that came before him.
Mm-hmm. I think he did not fall. He didn't just fall out of
coconut tree.
He's not trying to change viewpoints with his movies. He's just trying to like
affirm this canon.
And the way his main goal is to entertain with every movie he makes. And
he's the most 4-quadrant filmmaker like ever.
And so he wants people to leave his movies feeling good. And the way to do that in this movie, unfortunately, is to feel good about America.
The troops specifically.
Ernest, you said that this is like in your top 5 Spielberg.
No, I don't think it gets up there.
Okay. Oh no, you don't think that's up there. Okay. So I wanted
to definitely in the top 10.
Where are you guys at?
I don't know.
Saving Private Ryan.
I know that you have Ready Player One and like number 1 or 2, right?
Yes. So Ready Player One is number 1 because it's Ready Player One. Ready Player 2, I'm just going and saving a space for that, number 2.
Yeah.
I have this at 6.
Okay, all right. So that's not crazy.
And this was a recent bump up after the rewatch.
This guy has just made so many
the thing is
so many fucking
like I'm
good.
So
I have of bangers.
I have a list right here, and I do think that his top 3, especially for me, is unassailable. Any of these 3 could be my number 1 on any given day. Today I have Jurassic Park 1, E.T. 2, Jaws 3. Number 4, Raiders.
Yeah,
banger.
Ooh.
Number 5 for me is Schindler's List.
I mean, those are the 4. I'd say those are like the 4.
And then I think that it's always interesting seeing people's like 5 through 8 of Spielberg, because I think that's, or even like 4 through 8, because that's where I think you can kind of show your own personal flair. Like for me, Schindler's List is 5. Catch Me If You Can is number 6. I fucking love that
ready
movie.
for that
I
one.
cannot wait to do that episode on the series. That was I think it wasn't a COVID watch, but it might have been like right around that time that I had never seen before, and I watched it for the first time as an adult, and I was like, "Oh my god, is this like the best Tom Hanks and the best Leo movie, like all in one here?" Number 7's AI. Fuck yeah, just fucking rules.
Incredible.
8 Minority Report, 9 Close Encounters, 10 Sammy Fableman.
Yeah,
a movie about all of
Spielberg. A movie that unlocks like every Spielberg movie in a new way.
It just sits well up here. You know what I mean? Every time I like see the shot trending on Twitter of Sammy Fableman shooting his parents' divorce, I'm just like fucking chills.
It's man. That movie I think is only going to only going to get better. It is a phenomenal movie.
Did you see Fableman, Dane?
I did not, but it's on my list. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's not super easily accessible, so it's a little farther down the list.
Buy the 4K. It's $16 on Amazon right now. And then just throw it in that old PS5.
It's not streaming on the cock?
It might be streaming on the cock.
It's not.
But then at number 11, I have Saving Private Ryan. So just after Fableman's, I did bump it up because before we did this pod, I had it sandwiched in between Temple of Doom and Ready Player One. And I was like, that's a little disrespectful. So I pushed it in front of Last Crusade, West Side Story, and Temple of Doom. I'm sorry, Dane. Temple of Doom is a lot of fun. I don't think that it all
Temple
works.
of Doom.
Dane, the
It's
Fablemans,
so much fun.
The Fablemans is streaming on Paramount Plus.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't have that.
I gave you my login.
Yes,
They're gonna
I got to do that. I got to watch The Curse.
They're gonna shut your.
I'm
your
holding out
account
for
down password
HBO to
sharing.
acquire it.
Well, might not. Have to wait
We didn't
much
do
longer.
that. I live in Ernest's garage.
On a screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not password sharing.
I did just look at the bottom of my list because it does get kind of funny at the end. Second from last, I do have The Post. Just a nothing of a movie.
The collaboration between Hanks and Spielberg.
The Post was what, like 2018? Something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that. 2017.
It's
2017.
It's probably one of the most legendary runs that any.
Well, it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
It's two guys who know what the people want.
Yeah.
Above
newspapers.
Facts. It's two guys who put, I don't know, they put entertainment at a premium. They put likability above, all else in a way that's not, it doesn't feel like gross.
And always
in a way that it does with especially a lot of actors that are doing the Hanks playbook and trying above all else to be likable suck so bad. That's why I think he's underappreciated, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, he's mostly just playing Tom Hanks. It's like, yeah, it's hard to be Tom Hanks because that requires everyone to like you.
Yeah.
Which is really hard.
Right.
To get a consensus about you as a guy, that's almost harder than
like
acting.
A one of one.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Well, he does like drink the blood of babies, so he's likable because of all the adrenochrome.
I
saw this on.
I would like him more if he believed in our Lord and Savior Scientology. I think that's the only thing that's like holding him back for me, is that I do think that like if he just was a Scientologist, then him and his son would be welcome into the promised land.
Which son?
Oh, we all know the one. It's not Colin. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely Colin's going straight to hell.
Drew thinks he spotted Colin in this movie.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm like 80. I'm going to say I'm 84% sure that.
I did see. Did you know Andrew Scott's in this movie? Because I did not know Andrew Scott was in this movie.
Esteemed British actor Andrew Scott.
Yeah, fucking Fleabag.
Huh. I mean, there's just like there's an endless supply of guys in this movie.
Soldier on the something.
Just I don't know.
Just some guy.
There's a shot where the scene where they're going through the dog tags and all those endless, the line of soldiers is walking by. When Hanks goes into that crowd of soldiers and starts yelling, Colin walks by for sure. I'm 100% sure. You don't have to fact check. It's just right.
It just is right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like the he's like facing the fucking camera.
He kind of looks at the into the lens.
Yeah.
I want to get to the categories, but I want to open it up for any kind of like other stray thoughts that anyone had about the movie. I specifically wanted to talk again about the framing device, because apparently Spielberg he claims that he went to that graveyard. This is a real graveyard that exists in France at Normandy that is of the bodies of the troops that died on that specific battle of D-Day, of the storming of this beach. You can go there if you're into going to foreign cemeteries of American troops. He was there as a boy with his family, and he witnessed an old man fall to his knees and sob by a gravestone. If I'm going to believe Stevie, that was the inspiration for this framing device. And
he just held that in his whole life.
Yeah,
he's been thinking about it.
I think he was like, "War is good."
The little
as a kid,
the little trick he does where he makes you think that it's Hanks at the beginning, because you kind of zoom into his eyes and then he repeats the shot with Hanks at the end of the big sequence. So you're thinking, and also just kind of the idea of like you start with this guy and then immediately you see Hanks.
Yeah, well, and also
later.
like watching it, I don't know, watching it, I could you can clearly this guy's not an amazing actor. He got cast because he looks like old Damon. Back then, the audience doesn't know Damon that well.
No,
they know him from one movie,
right?
It's Goodwill.
Yeah.
They
really
put him all over the posters, though.
Oh, of course.
So I mean, he was all up in there.
Goodwill's hot, but you're not in your brain, like he's not branded in your brain the way he is now.
Yeah, on that note, I didn't see any of these posters. I didn't look at any of the cast going into this. So
did you not know that Matt Damon was going to show up?
All of these dudes popping up was like already like next level entertaining for me. And then Matt Damon being Private Ryan was like, no fucking way. This is.
That also must have made it so much more frustrating when the Nathan Fillion thing happens, because you actually didn't know that he wasn't Private Ryan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did kind of like in my head call that twisted. It's like, okay, we found Ryan way too quickly. Like,
yeah.
And the way it's like, I have something to tell you, like your brother's died. Like
that can't be. They're in grade school, grammar school.
Fun scene.
And but yeah, the old man, great casting to make him look like Damon. You get the shot that's now a meme.
Yeah,
of the dissolve,
the transition. Yeah, the turning old.
It's like a morph.
Looks great. Still looks great.
Holds up super well.
I don't think that guy's a good actor.
No, it's terrible.
And I think that maybe should have taken precedence over him looking like Damon, because he really, a lot of weight goes into the end, and part of it is, I don't know. I think the line like "Tell me I'm a good man" is it's just kind of weird.
Tell me I'm good.
She's like,
just tell me I'm good.
Yes, you're good.
I mean,
thank you.
We could have lost the whole framing device. Like the movie stands on its own without it. Honestly, like as the movie is getting back to that you can basically just leave at that point.
Hey, you can run P moment.
The end of the movie.
You've been holding it for so long.
Go piss.
Don't wait for this guy to cry about
go piss, girl.
Yeah.
It's piss in the very beginning, piss at the very end.
A couple other just stray thoughts is I think that seeing Hanks like get shot and die is kind of a thing that doesn't happen. I can't think of another movie where Tom Hanks just like gets shot and then we just see him die. We see his dead body.
Big.
I clocked that as something that like, well, wow, this movie really went there.
Hanks doesn't die.
And
we haven't seen Toy Story 5 yet, where they execute Woody.
Yeah, they behead him.
Yeah. And
I thought that it's a really nice little moment there. You know, you mentioned it, the earn this, earn it. It's a good moment and a good reminder of the idea that not even Tom Hanks could make it out of a situation like this. You know, even men like him can get gunned down. But yeah, any other kind of stray thoughts, or should we jump into the categories?
Generally, I think you're totally right, Dane, that like it is, there's going to be propaganda, I think, in like 98% of war movies, and this movie has
hard to avoid.
It's hard to watch a movie and separate, like, is it good versus is the point good?
Yeah.
You know?
I think we ran into that with Forrest Gump a little bit.
Yeah. But that, I don't know. That said, I think that this movie does a pretty solid job of approaching it without going way, 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 way over the top. Because I honestly thought it was going to. And I don't know. It's still, I guess it depends upon your expectations when you're going into it.
I mean, the D-Day scene does so much to pull it in the opposite direction.
Thank you. That's what I was gonna say. Is I also never understood even the movies that are super propaganda-y. Like even as a kid watching war movies,
a guy's face gets blown off. It's a hole in his face.
Like it's true, like carnage.
My whole life, if I see like 1 second of combat, I'm like, wow, this sucks. Like war sucks. War is just bad. I don't understand the brains of people who can see any amount of that and come out on the other end. I don't care how many trumpets are playing. If you think that's all good, then you're stupid. Like you're dumb. And I know, I mean, they're playing to the dummies by putting the trumpets in, but I don't know.
Categories?
Yeah.
All right. First category is run P, as mentioned before, the run P moment of the movie, the scene, the sequence, the section in which you can go to the bathroom during Saving Private Ryan, maybe get a drink, some popcorn, a refill. Maybe you just need to stare at the poster of Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess it would be Beetlejuice in 1998.
That's 3 times, man. Come on.
Oh no! What scene, what moment do you run pee? Brought to you by Run Pee, the app that tells you when to go pee. Thanks for sponsoring this episode.
Is it the camp scene when they're just like looking through the dog tags and
no, absolutely not. That's a great scene. I think that's hugely important because it shows how desensitized everybody is, but like they're not. We clearly know they're not desensitized to their own buddies dying, but like point. These aren't necessarily their buddies.
So I'm trying to think of something that's about halfway through the movie because right before that we have the rainy town set piece, and then You're not
missing that,
and then we have the night church scene where Ribisi gets his moment. So I'm fucking locked in, brother. I am all the way there. Yeah. I'll pee every other moment except for when Ribisi is talking.
Maybe after we lose Wade, like that
because after the machine gun, that whole thing,
them arguing. When Burns wants to leave,
I can skip the Burns stuff.
When Burns is like, "I'm out. I'm done with this whole thing."
I did kind of start to check out a little bit of that until Sizemore pulls the pistol and it's like, all right, tension's back. We're back. Right, I believe it now.
And Hanks is like, this is such a Spielberg script thing.
The pool. What's the pool at?
What's the pool at?
That's so fucking Spielberg.
Like, motherfucker, your subordinates just hold guns on each other. You're just calm right now.
You know what's the funny thing about that scene is because like Sizemore pulls the gun and then what's his name? Rabin or whatever, the Edward Burns character, he's like about to like pull a gun or something like that, and like the sniper guy like half has a gun pulled on Sizemore.
Yeah, he's like oh shit.
No, it's not quite like a shootout, but he's just like kind of like leaned over with a gun half out, and it's like, come on, you could have put a little bit more effort in this. I don't believe you're shooting anybody right now.
I honestly, Drew's right. It's any time that we're not with the boys, that's when you pee. Anytime you're showing the mother of the, who cares? I don't know. I don't need to see her to know.
That's so early in the movie.
That is the time to go.
Well, then, so drink your icy really fast. And then
do it during
go fucking piss.
Sometimes whenever I see like limbs get splattered all over the camera, I just gotta shit. So that's time. I
think maybe as soon as you find Private Ryan, like once you're in that town and you're kind of getting your bearings, that's a good chunk of time. You can find. There's a lot of moments you can find in there. You could go real quick. Mm-hmm.
You can always have, if it's something that you miss enough of the movie, like where even if you're gone for 5 minutes, if you can lean over to the person that you came with and be like, what did I miss? And they're like, they decided
what did
to
I miss?
They're like, they're not leaving. They're staying in the town. You're like, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you wouldn't even have to ask because you could just look at it and see that they didn't leave. That they didn't. That they decided to stay.
I like to come in with my eyes closed in case I'm seeing. I missed something important. I don't want to get spoiled. Yeah,
you're like they're still there. What the fuck happened?
Don't you hate when a movie spoils it for you as you're watching it? Shit sucks.
You definitely don't miss the story of the girl getting knocked out with her shirt over her head.
No,
you gotta come back for that.
It's the Ribisi moment, and it's Matt Damon talking about an ugly girl. That's what you're
as much as I hate that. Like, yeah, that you have to.
Legendary. I think here's my theory about that.
His wife.
I think. Oh, well,
that's his wife at the end. Telling him he's a good man.
That's one theory. Is when it cuts to the wife telling he's a good guy, I was like, look, it's the ugly chick from the story.
She like still has like a broken, crooked nose.
There's no reason to think it's not her.
Yeah.
You're a good man, not as good as your brother, but.
No, my theory is that scene is them almost kind of trying to recapture the magic of the conversations between Robin and Damon in Good Will Hunting, where like Robin's talking about his wife farting or whatever, and you get the Damon just like going red in the face, cracking up, telling stories, because there's a lot of that in Good Will Hunting, and it's like it's great scenes.
Yeah.
It's just this story is insane.
Private Ryan is no Will Hunting though.
They all like kind of realize how insane the story is, and that does a huge part in actually, I don't want to say selling it, because like I still hated it, but it's definitely like you can't leave during it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're meant to just think that Private Ryan's a bit of a dum-dum. I think that's just the point. It's like, oh, we're all this for this fucking guy.
He's just a good old boy.
All right.
That segment, by the way, was brought to you by Run P.
Come on.
You came in hot.
You queued it up, man. I was ready for it.
I don't have a ton, but I have a few that are pretty bad, and I'll just hit you with all of them, okay?
When you're saving your privates.
Yeah, so that's obviously the easy, you'd say I don't know. Something
when your privates are raining,
no.
Save them. Run P.
Here, okay, I'll hit you with some other ones. When you really want to watch the movie, but you're Edward Burns.
When you're Paul feels Giamatti.
When you got to leave really quick to bury your pepper.
Okay.
When God gave you a fine instrument of war.
When you got to empty some diesel from your VIN.
Oh my God. Okay, that one's very good. That's something.
Boy.
Run P. Thanks for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah. When your head is locked in, but your Ted is dancing.
When your Stevie's been Spielberg.
Something Giovannni Ribisi.
I'm keeping
used
all
Giovannni Ribisi before?
This is all staying in.
It's recycled.
Thanks to Run P for sponsoring this episode. Next category.
Oh wait, I got one more. Okay. When the run up just doesn't even matter. It's like when you want to watch a movie, but you drank Max Martinis. There's a guy in the cast named Max Martini.
Tom Swap is the next category. Could the other Tom do this role? Could Cruise be Captain Miller?
So not Captain Miller, but I think that Tom Hanks would be great as one of the guys in
Cruise.
Cruise.
Yeah.
I'm Cruise.
If Cruise was the Edward Burns character and you give him a little bit more to do, I think that he could.
Baby Cruise, though.
That's what I'm saying, is that he can't do the Hanks role. Hanks has to be like, you need somebody with some sass.
I think he could do it. He could do it up to the point where he has to like actually be like, yeah, I'm a real person. I'm an English teacher. And then at that point, I don't buy it. But like, it's like a generally kind of like by the books kind of military guy. I think Tom Cruise could do that. It's the human aspect that.
I mean, I think he could do human. Like, I think the problem is that like Hanks needs to the John Miller character needs to like have some age to him.
Yeah.
Like he needs to be wise. He needs to have had a whole life before he went to war.
He also has to be.
How old is Tom Cruise at this point?
Well, he's like 5'2", so he's basically like 19. So I don't know.
He also he has to be.
He's in his like mid to late 20s.
He has to like not believe in himself in a way that Cruise can't.
30s. Yeah.
Because Hanks in the movie is like, you get why everyone's doubting him, and Cruise you can't. Like the closest he comes is something like Jerry Maguire, but that's almost a cartoony role. Also, you know what I mean? That's not. Like, I don't know. That's a guy who's falling apart very comically. Like, this has to be a guy who's just quietly like, I don't know if this is so worth it.
I think the core aspect of Captain Miller that works the best, and I think honestly that makes it one of my favorite roles that Tom Hanks ever did, is that it takes the warmth aspect, the what you go into a Tom Hanks movie expecting, and it uses that to thrust you through the story with a guy who you wouldn't think would be able to have that warmth in this situation. Like, you don't think of a army captain as having the qualities of Tom Hanks, like that warmth, that sense of comfort and safety. Like, most people wouldn't associate those qualities with a leader of a World War II platoon of men. You're thinking it's going to be like a hard ass. You're thinking it's going to be this really intense, stoic leader, and that's not who Captain Miller is. You see the school teacher. That's really who you're seeing.
But he is kind of like goofy, like cynical in a way that like really kind of reminds me of like Tom Cruise at Top Gun. Yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
But that's more cocky, isn't it?
Well, there's arrogance to it, but there's a fun poking to it, like especially earlier on, like when they're doing the whole thing about like, who do you grab to? Well, I grab to my commanding officer, and then they're doing the whole thing with just like, well, what did you say to him? I'd be like, I think this is a great mission, sir, and I think that you have a lot of great ideas.
That's a good scene.
Tom Cruise could pull that off.
Yes,
easy.
I do. I agree. I do think that he could do that.
I can't fit him into this movie.
He's the guy who comes in on the airplane at the end to save the day.
Facts. Because he can't be a member of the crew because he's Tom Cruise. He's not.
Could Cruise be Ryan?
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's the spot for
Baby
him.
Cruise could definitely be a young Ryan.
Yeah.
I think that's actually great.
I think that that's a good spot for him because he could still pull off the like, I am here for my new brother, sir.
Yeah.
I want to serve my brother, sir.
No, I think you're right. I think you cracked it there.
I need our Toms to make a movie together. Like that. Wouldn't it be so cool if like that was their heat?
It's Face Off, but it's just Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks playing themselves, playing each other.
Sounds like a nightmare.
We'll have Cage in there. We could reanimate Robin's corpse. Oh wait, no, we won't do that.
All face offs.
Okay.
All right. Next scene is, what is your favorite scene and what is the most iconic moment? Iconic moment's easy. It's the D-Day.
It's D-Day.
But favorite scene, I think this is where I'm going to go to bat for the whole Giamatti sequence. The sniper rifle in the rain, even everything leading up to it with the little French family, the Vin like bleeding out on the ground, the rising tension. Like, I think that is just a really perfect, airtight little sequence that Spielberg does in the kind of middle part of this movie. I really loved it this watch through. I thought I was going to love the ending a lot too, the whole kind of bridge sequence, and it's still amazing. It's still, like I said, a knockout, but it did feel like, like this is a bit of a Call of Duty map a little bit. And I think you could probably make the same case for the whole sniper sequence too, but that wasn't the main thought on my mind. The main thought was like, man, Stevie is cooking here. But that's just to give something different than the opening, which is like, an all.
Yeah. I mean, the opening is like the best moment. It is the most iconic, easily.
Gets him the Oscar.
Again, I love that. It's right after the rainy sequence, but that little reprieve in the church, that's my favorite quiet moment that isn't action taking place in the movie.
Any other favorite scenes? Dane, Drew?
I really like all of the character stuff leading up to the very end. I'm with you, Hunter, on the church. But it's like the three guys sitting on the stoop listening to the French lady sing. Mm-hmm. And honestly, Edward Burns talking about the boobies, boobies in the tailor shop. Hey, it ends on such a depressing note that really sells that whole scene for me of like, they are just having a good time. And then they realize like, we're not having a good time.
I think, the Adam Goldberg getting stabbed is just like really effective.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, part of you, like if you were really naive, you'd be like, I don't get it. Why doesn't he just go up there? but he has fallen apart.
Right.
Well, also he
doesn't
different
belong
building
there.
He's in a different building, and the whole time while I was watching it, I thought that he was in that building. But then you see a different person come down. It's like
that's
classic,
a different guy.
It's a different. He's in a different building.
That.
That's like another one of the Spielberg things that as you're watching Adam Goldberg die, you're just like, oh my god, go up there at the stairs, and then your thought is like, oh my god, there's somebody that's right up on the stairs. They're gonna go kill this little bitch boy now. But then it's just like one of his own troops walks down. Like he's the one who like grabs him down the stairs and just like.
I just figured that was the guy,
with him.
And he just let him live. I thought it was the German was like, "Hey, you're a little shit."
I don't know about that one, Hunter. No, I think have to rewatch the end again.
Maybe it is. Maybe I am wrong there, but I thought that was like a Spielberg switcheroo.
I can pull up the movie right now.
Why would the German let him live?
Yeah,
I thought that was just another American guy. Because it's a different building.
Germans just see. I don't know.
Germans don't believe in war crimes
for sure.
Germans actually have never. Did you ever hear about those like German scientists and like all the good work that they did and without hurting anyone involved at all? Yeah.
All right, I'm looking at it now.
You might be right.
It's kind of hard to see his face. They have short cropped hair.
Well, it's about what his uniform is.
No, well, look at whenever skip ahead to whenever the guy's walking down the stairs.
Well, I'm trying to clock his face in the struggle. He's
look
in
at
the
his
middle
uniform.
Of stabbing.
Go to his uniform when he's walking down the stairs.
It's the uniform.
Though.
Yeah, that's the easy way to tell.
Or maybe the actor.
Easy.
I get Amazon pulls up the. Okay. So we have a close up of this guy.
Tell me Hunter's wrong.
Max Martini is. Oh wait, no. Waffen.
Oh.
Who is Max Martini?
Max Martini. He's Max in your martini.
Corporal Henderson.
Max Martini is a porn star that I was just watching last night. Like I don't know who this guy is.
Mac Steinmer is the SS soldier. It looks like the same guy.
Yeah,
Adam Goldberg just got stabbed hardcore.
This is really important.
And now
Ernie, please keep all of this in.
Upham is crying. It is the same actor. It is Mac Steinmer.
Why does he not kill Upham?
Because he sees him and he's like, oh, this guy's already dead. This guy's nothing.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they kill him and take his fucking ammo? He's literally carrying around like just so much. This is why the Nazis lost the war.
What if he like
that's the only reason.
It's true. What if he comes up with the gall to be able to shoot him?
You can see the SS
as he's walking away
on his lapel.
There you go. See, that's why I like it though, is because this is like
Ernie,
a German
can you
soldier.
cut out the last 3.5 minutes, including that of me being wrong?
I love it because it's a German soldier who he showed some amount of humanity in killing Goldberg. Like he like says something to him or whatever, but like you're like, this is a cold-blooded guy, but he sees how broken this man is, and he's like, oh, you're not even a threat. Like I'm just gonna walk right by you.
Well, to me, it's even more than that, because to me it's like this is a Nazi killing a Jew in such a horrible way. Such a horrible way to die, and then walks right past a guy who's not Jewish, or at least not like we're not known. We haven't been told that he is.
There was only one star on the. Well, he didn't die there, I guess. So
it's just like it's almost like the Nazi, like he really wanted to fucking murder this Jew, and then he's gonna let the non-Jew.
Are you telling me that you can tell Adam Goldberg is Jewish just by looking at him?
Well, his Jewishness is a part of the fucking movie.
Yeah, it's just Oh, I bet it is. Huh?
I'm not familiar with the characteristics you might.
He has a whole beat when he's like taunting the German soldiers.
Like, look at my star, David.
Bitch. Holding the star, exactly.
Juden. Yeah.
So okay. So, any more favorite scenes?
No, great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
6 out of 10.
Next category is WYD, fellas. What would you do?
Oh, I'm falling apart in the stairwell. Mentally, I'm not coming back from any of this.
Which one are we?
We're the translator. Obviously, he's the audience surrogate.
Yeah,
I am getting murdered immediately on the boat.
Yeah,
like D-Day. I'm like one of those guys that gets
I'm not
drowned.
making it out of the boat. Yeah.
If I make it past D-Day, I'm like, yeah, I'm still on the beach, man. Like I'm way too jumpy to.
I do often think about if I was in that situation, I would find like a bunch of dead bodies and I would just simply get underneath them.
Yeah, man.
And pretend to be
playing dead really quick.
Just right away.
Can't stop me.
Because here's the thing: if I'm under dead bodies, what they know? They walk past. They're probably just like, oh, another dead one.
It's crazy that more soldiers don't take advantage of this one simple trick.
And guys, and I have good news for you all. Come on in, boys. I did get the Army Rangers are here today. They're recruiting. Welcome in. Welcome to the podcast. Come on, take a seat.
I don't know what other one is there. I mean, if you're Hanks, you're leading these men.
I would never have been put in that position of power.
Absolutely not.
Crazy.
I'm entirely too insubordinate.
I was once the vice president of a Boy Scout troop with Dane, and that was way too much responsibility for me. I could never handle leading that many boys again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I guess maybe the only other option is your Cranston with the one arm, but then that implies an entire history.
No, it's
service.
The real answer, like in many films, but especially this movie, is every single step of the way I am killing myself.
But then you'd be deserting your brother.
I don't care. Every hypothetical 5 minutes of runtime, I'm killing myself over and over.
I cannot wait to kill myself.
Yeah.
But
every obstacle.
You're there.
I've just watched all these people die horribly. Like I don't want that. Nobody's gonna stop to put me out of my misery. Might as well do it myself.
The promise of killing a Nazi. The promise of being a hero.
I think
for the folks back home.
I might suicide bomb it then. I might take out some Nazis with me. I would just strap a bunch of shit to me and then jump inside of a tank. And then I blow tank up, but then I kill Nazis with me.
I'm not going. I'm not going to do it. I'm defecting.
I will say, if I'm Ryan and they say hey, we're here to get you home, I'm out immediately. I'm like, fucking peace, guys. Yeah! Let's go. I'm like, fuck you. Yeah, I'm out of here.
He jumps freeze frame. Yeah, end of the movie.
It's in the way that you use it. Okay. Next category is, where does this movie rank on the Hank scale? 1 to 5.
He's not wacky. He's not goofy. But he has to be so likable.
Yeah. He's now entering. This is a dad Hanks scale.
If we were just,
I think the fact that he doesn't have a big wacky scene keeps it from going kind of the full 5 of the scope of what you want from Hanks.
A lot of what he's saying in this movie isn't I don't know, viewed objectively is not building a character that you should love. You know what I mean? So much of it rests upon his shoulders.
It's a 3.29.
It's just
little, maybe 3.587.
There are a lot of actors where if this is their part, this movie is almost way less propaganda-y, because the whole time you're just miserable watching this troupe. You're like, wow, these guys all. I don't want to hang out with them even.
Yeah, it's a good hang. The captain, yeah. So one being
so this isn't about how
least
good
amount
he
of
is.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, this is just about when you think about Tom Hanks, in your mind's eye, think about all the kind of characteristics of Tom Hanks. Where is this?
It relies on him being above a 3, but yeah, we're not getting any good Woody the Cowboy kind of stuff out of this.
Yeah, but also
I think the closest we get to that is the gun scene when he's what's the pool up to? That's the closest I think we get to
but also
dad Tom Hanks.
Another 5 Tom Hanks that we're going to get to though is Castaway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's what we're waiting.
And he
for,
does. He goes bigger in that movie too. But I'm going to say this is a 4.
Yeah, it's pretty close to. Yeah, I would probably get up to a 3.5 or a 4. I think the big thing is that the only moments when he is going that big is he's mostly just screaming out orders.
You don't know about sticky bombs?
Yeah, in a sequence of high intensity, he's telling his guys how to move on the battlefield. That's kind of the most big you get, and it's it's not
pretty dialed back
what you're used to necessarily. But I'll go back to what I said earlier, is the fact that it is him. Just the fact that it is him makes the entire movie feel so much more watchable, because you're being subjected to sequences that are so intense and violent and nauseating and off-putting and difficult that he becomes this gravitational center of kind of like peace, for lack of a better term, or like some level of kind of more subdued centrality to the mood of the movie, where his presence kind of juxtaposes the high sort of violent nature of the movie. So, you know, it's key that it's him. It's part of what makes the movie work so well. All right, final category is recaging and re-Robin Couch. Where are our boys Nick Cage and Robin Williams in this movie?
I've thought a lot about like just how old Robin would have to be in order to play the Hanks role, because he has a little bit of it in him. He plays a lot of parts where he is very likable and more subdued. The problem is a lot of the subduedness comes when he's older, and he's a little too. By the time Good Will Hunting comes around, he's probably too old.
I just don't buy Robin like in combat.
What if he got fucking? What if he did like Kumail? What if he started doing testosterone?
He got jacked.
Yeah, he was jacked in Jack.
If he started taking tea, can you imagine how fucking hairy he would get?
What if? So here's the thing. So what if we take Robin Williams' character from Jack and we put him in as just one of the privates that's on the
just
thing?
A little boy.
Yeah, he's just a little boy brain
running around.
He's an old man. I don't know where you put him, and I think that if he's going to be in here, you probably make him like the Paul Giamatti. There you go. I think that's the spot for him.
Then you lose Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. I'm with you, but
I don't want to.
That's where he fits.
Yes,
yeah,
I agree. I think that's kind of the only spot
I love
for
Paul
him.
Giamatti in this movie.
Everybody loves Paul Giamatti.
I don't think Robin makes it better.
No,
I think
I don't think so.
Makes it different, but not.
I think Cage could make like an Edward Burns character better.
I think Cage fits in a lot of places just because Cage is generally insane, and all of these guys are to some degree insane.
I think you make Cage the sniper guy.
Yeah.
Like that's where you put Cage.
That is so good. Yeah,
you just put him like mumbling Bible verses to himself while
blonde
he's just
Cage.
Yeah, you make him blonde.
Yes,
you give him a southern accent.
Shave his head.
He's a good Christian boy. It's too easy.
That rocks. That I'm all in on.
Mm-hmm.
He's not whispering the prayer at his death. He's fucking shouting that
Partner
from the top of the city.
What if Robin Williams was the old Damon, the old man? So it's just Robin Williams. It's like, what
happened? What happened to this guy?
Will Hunting became the therapist.
Life's been unkind to him.
Jesus.
That would make the GIF better.
I didn't earn it.
Where it morphs from Matt Damon to Robin Williams.
To Robin Williams' face. Yeah.
All right. Well, we did it. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I did think about one. I was busy thinking about it for the last like 10 minutes. Run P. When you're trying to watch Saving Private Ryan, but you got to worry about saving Ryan's pants.
What?
Oh wait, Saving Private Ryan, but you got to worry about saving Ryan's pants from his privates.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, get out. Oh, get out.
Ryan's pants from his privates. Is that something?
I'm worried that
I'm going to drive down there and kick your ass.
So who's Ryan? You're at the theater with Ryan?
I'm going to piss in Ryan's pants.
You're
I'm going to use Ryan's little privates to piss in his little pants.
I see. That's
Holy
why
hell.
That's why I didn't touch that one, because there's just you can't do it.
It's Ryan's privates.
I like the first version better. You gotta worry about saving Ryan's pants.
I was like, wait, what the fuck is this movie called? It got lost in the telling of the joke.
Oh my God.
All right. When you're okay. Hey, Run P, for when you you're trying to watch Private Jack Ryan, but you need to go into private to Jack your Ryan. To Jack your private.
Jack Ryan.
Is his name Jack Ryan?
No.
I think that's John Krasinski in Amazon Prime's Jack Ryan.
What's his name?
It's James.
James Ryan.
Jimmy Francis Ryan.
Yeah.
You got a Jimmy Ryan.
I guess Jack, that's
yeah.
James,
Jim,
basically.
James, yeah.
Close enough.
Literally.
All right.
Run P is also for figuring out when you need to go jack off in the bathroom.
Especially during...
Here's the thing. There's so many options in this movie where you could just jack off. Here's the thing. Run, Jack. Don't just sit down. Just pop a squat.
Sit, Jack.
Right there in the theater.
What was that movie where some guy like jacked off and fell asleep in the movie theater? Do you remember?
I think I know what you're talking about. I do not remember. It might have been the movie with like the girl boxing movie with what's her name from Twilight? Kristen Stewart.
Oh, Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah. I feel like there's like a really solid chance that
I was it was like Passion of the Christ.
I think you might be right.
It was Mel.
Yeah, no,
Mel at the premiere of Passion of the Christ.
For some reason, I thought that it was like Anyone But You, but that movie's so boring that it's like you're not really getting.
You got to entertain
up.
yourself somehow.
You're not really getting horned up. But no, this was a thing. This was a Twitter thing. If the debate had been like 6 months ago, Donald Trump would have talked about how a guy passed out after coming in a movie theater.
Yeah.
What are you talking? How do you guys both know about this?
It was a thing.
I know. I'm upset. I don't know.
How do you not know about this?
I know. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, you got it? You found it?
Was it Love Lies Bleeding?
It was Love Lies Bleeding.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the guy's just passed out. He had to be like escorted out.
There's a photo.
Yeah, it's like an overhead.
Oh my!
Of him
Somebody just
sleeping with his fucking cock out.
and he's like asleep through all of this.
He nutted so hard that he immediately passed out.
There are very few pleasures in this world other than nutting and passing out immediately afterwards.
Especially in like,
but just generally, you want to do that in the privacy of your own home, in your bed, preferably when the nutting happens.
Yeah,
literally anywhere except for a movie theater is probably.
Doug, I have bad news for you about the hygiene of those seats. Do you think they have time to wipe those things down in between guests? Absolutely.
Maybe this is how Dave Grohl just became a new father. He just went to a movie theater.
He sat on a movie
girlfriend.
theater. See,
it was like, oh shit, we picked the wrong movie.
He's not the one who's pregnant. He didn't have the baby.
Oh, I thought he was pregnant.
I thought, he from sitting on the movie theater seats after
it's like a junior situation.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that the Arnold movie?
Is that the plot?
That's the plot.
Someone sits on cum?
No. He's a scientist. He impregnates himself.
Fellas, does this ever happen to you? You go to your local movie theater, you saw it come, you got a baby now you gotta take care of.
You think that you heard about that?
Have you heard about that? I should have worn my Tonight Show shirt.
God, this episode really derailed at the end there. And that's okay. Because that's, Spielberg. If Spielberg were here, he would want us talking about this. That's really all we can ask
Here's
for.
How fucked up SEO is. And so here's the TMZ headline. It's Kristen Stewart, line break. Man busted with eggplant emoji out at her movie, asleep as credits roll, 3 exclamation points.
So that's like blaming Kristen Stewart.
It's just getting all the SEO stuff in up top.
And the emoji in the headline is
search
crazy.
With an emoji?
What the fuck is search? Jesus.
Kristen Stewart, man, I know. Well, no one's. What did they want to get, like cock out in the headline?
Man busted with his little ween out.
Is Is TMC so down bad for clicks that they just have to resort to this?
Well, they have to have the celebrity's name in it because that's their whole deal. So they're like, Kristen Stewart, man busted with dick out at her movie.
I have
not a sentence.
Google like does recognize emojis if you type it into the search bar. That's nuts. I just learned this.
Wow, you learned something every day.
The eggplant emoji, it's doing some lifting.
Should I get like a new keyboard, but it's just emojis?
No.
Windings.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can wrap it up there. I guess that guy didn't wrap it up there.
Hey.
Thank you all for listening.
If you're going to jog off in public, wear a condom. For God's sake.
I wear a condom every day to this podcast.
Because you never know.
Just in case.
You never know.
After what happened?
Isn't that?
Oh my God. Episode 1.
I do not want to hear Ernest Calderon, man, busted his fucking his carrot during recording a podcast.
Oh my God.
Man squeezed carrot juice during the latest podcast recording.
Wasn't there a South Park episode where they all wear condoms everywhere?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
You heard about that?
I'm actually sure I've seen that. Yes,
Yeah.
that does sound right.
And they have to buy like kid-size ones because they're more comfortable.
That's cool.
Great show.
Yeah. War as hell.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe, like, and comment. Let us know your thoughts on Saving Private Ryan and various strange internet topics covered on this episode. Please visit WeBoughtAMic.net to get every episode in your inbox. And thank you to all the donors that support us at patreon.com/WeBoughtAMic. You are what makes this podcast possible. Next week, it's You've Got Mail as we continue this little Hanks run.
Nice.
Excited for that. Thank you, Dane. Thank you for choosing this movie. Thank you for coming on the show. Any parting words, final thoughts, recommendations, anything you want to let the people know?
Go Knowles, baby.
Go Knowles.
Okay.
That's sad.
That's, yeah. I don't know about, okay.
That's a huge bummer.
Sounding like my dad now.
We'll have you on again.
Gotta support the boys.
We will probably invite you back for our Listomania because we had such a good time last time talking the best shows of the year, especially because I know, Drew, you're clocking how many seasons of Love is Blind have you clocked?
Love is Blind. I'm a little bit through the first season of English Love is Blind, which is better because they're uglier.
Yeah.
They're uglier in the English one.
Yeah, I mean they don't have that many good-looking people over there.
Yeah, they got fucked up teeth.
But isn't it like
it's just an island full of incest?
Sorry, for some reason I heard you say American. Isn't there like 50 to 60 episodes per season or something like that? That's stupid.
That's Love Island.
That's Love Island.
Okay,
you absolute idiot.
Jesus Christ.
Ignoramus.
I'm so sorry.
Uncultured.
Yeah, I'm not going to make that mistake again when it comes to Love Island. Yes, I will.
Well, listeners might remember that we had Dane on for Listomania because Drew famously did not watch much of anything.
It's funny because
it's looking like it's going to be the same.
I tell myself I don't have the attention span to like watch stuff after work, and then whenever we put on one of those reality shows, I'm
locked in.
I cannot look away, and it's so because you're not supposed to look at those, but they're supposed to be in the background.
That's okay because Dane came in with a lot of kind of off the beaten path picks that I think people might appreciate.
Spoiler alert! My number one is the new norm right now.
What is the new
look
norm?
it up.
Shut the fuck up, Dane. Shut your fuck.
Is this anime?
No, this is like a conservative cartoon that I feel like is only on X.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, this show.
Oh, it has a 1. No. It has a 1 out of 10 on IMDb.
It's literally a conservative adult cartoon, and norm meaning
Dave
like
Rubin.
It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, and I do not say that lightly.
So you have now graduated from watching Tim Pool videos as a bit to the new norm.
Yeah, it's like it's like F is for family if Bill Burr got a lobotomy.
Oh, I see that there's a person of color who's covered head to toe in Washington Redskins gear. I'm sure that they have a lot to say about that.
It looks like Elon Musk made.
There's also a screenshot of him wearing it's beer that's covered in like a rainbow color.
It's just a can that says beer.
I think that's Private Ryan. I think Private Ryan made an appearance.
Oh, this is, I guess, the queer America that the liberals want. It's a woman president.
Oh, great.
You gotta watch it. It's incredible.
Every frame of it.
And I can't wait to talk more about it, you know?
You know that
it's a animated sitcom on X.
The first.
So thanks, Elon.
It's an X original. I gotta ask you this before we go though. Dane, what is the conservative backlash of the woke left trying to make Abraham Lincoln a gay man?
Oh, they hate it. They have genuinely talked about it.
I'm sure, because like when Abraham Lincoln is name dropped in this movie in Saving Private Ryan, it's like, oh, that is a gay man.
Yeah, you just think about him just laying in bed on one room log cabin with his
cozying up,
his roommate.
Him just like watching Brokeback Mountain in a packed theater. Dick out, passed out, covered in cum.
We'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.